Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the start of a brand new season. The time for talking has come to a close, and it is time now to put pedal to the metal. We start off with the Clash, the 7-bar barbecue A-square Clash presented by ARCS Race Experience. We'll kick off this season and what will be a month-long experience here at Daytona. For everyone tuning in to ABN's coverage of the ARCS A-Square Cup Series, welcome to YouTube and welcome to 2025. I'm Carmen, Sienna, alongside me as always Kevin Young, to bring the full season of action here. It's time to bring the high banks of Daytona alive, Kevin. The off-season is over. We've seen the drafts. We've seen a lot of changes come into the start of this season. What are we looking at here to kick off this very unique event?
Well, for starters, if that lap counter is correct, we are going to be in for a lot of laps here at Daytona, over 2 billion. But joking aside with that one, what we can expect is what we were kind of left off of last season. A lot of drivers running hard, a lot of fast drivers, a lot of new faces have come into the A-Squared community, and you can see that by the car count we will have here tonight for the Clash. And if that holds going into next week, not all the open cars will be able to make the show, just showing how important the draft was to get a guaranteed seat at the Daytona race in 2 weeks' time. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. What can we expect tonight? A lot of drivers testing out their new teams, getting used to the teammates around them and the new faces, and maybe trying to forge some partnerships that could help them out when push comes to shove with 5 laps to go in the old Daytona 500.
This is a unique format. We've seen the Clash take place at the Los Angeles Coliseum the last couple of years. We're back to Daytona here in 2025. Obviously, the real-life Clash taking place at Bowman Gray Stadium, which is not on iRacing. So this is going to be a bit more unique. We have qualifying coming up here very shortly. They're in drivers' meeting right now to go over the event format. We're going to go over that with you as well. We have qualifying. The top 2 are locked into tonight's main event no matter what. There are 3 heats and a consolation race before we get to that main event. Each of the 3 heats, 15 laps. Top 5 finishers make it in from each of those heats. The consolation, the B main, as some would call it, the top 13 finishers make it on to the main event. The main event will be 30 cars. The 2 that make it in directly from qualifying, on top of the top 5 from the heats and the top 13 from the consolation. Given that we had about 60 cars try to show up, it's going to be a pretty chaotic night. To streamline that, the heats themselves will not have cautions. So it will be a little bit of a throwback to a couple years ago when we had the cautionless heats that determined the field order itself for the races in the A-Square Cup Series. They brought that format back to a little bit of an extent for the Clash here tonight. So staying clean and keeping your head out of the way will be important.
Yeah, and considering the laps is only going to be a 5-minute feature, everyone's going to go out on the track and do it in succession. We'll find out quite quick who those 2 lucky drivers will be, and since they only get 1 lap, similar to other series we have seen on the ABN family of networks, it's not going to give you much time to warm up. You're not going to get that second lap, so you can use the first lap as a giddy-up lap and then use the second lap as your go-hard lap. You're going to have to use your out lap as the best chance you get, which is about maybe half to 3/4 of the track, to get low, get the tires warmed up, get the car to the maximum optimal speed. And by the time we see all the cars cross the line, it's going to be millimeters between the 2 cars that are locked into the feature, and maybe a couple drivers that at least will put themselves in a great chance to make it to the feature in the heats, but could also see a driver maybe qualify inside the top 10, end up maybe even missing it altogether if they catch a horrible string of luck between the heats and the consolation races.
It's going to be extremely important to get everything correct and ready to go here for this race. Again, qualifying coming up here in about 5 minutes time. So we've got a little bit of work to do to get to that point. Again, top 2 make it in from qualifying here directly into the main. Before we get to that, obviously we had the draft a week ago. There's been a lot of changes that have come into the mix here in Daytona. Kevin, you have a little bit of a list to read off. A lot of things changed. A lot of drivers changed rides before we even got to the first event of the season. Who went where following the draft? last Sunday.
Yeah, to go over it quite simply, a lot of things happened. I got to get right here and pull it up. But we start off with the big shock. Presidential Racing's first overall draft pick, Zach Millett, decided to pretty much take an opportunity, saw a chance in the rule book, and he decided to leave Presidential Racing for up greener pastures. And he decided to join a team that you could say right now is maybe one of the teams that's got a big target on its back, Bowie Esports. They pick up Zach Millett at the expense of Jarrett Merchant, their last draft pick they had in the 3rd round. Speaking onward, Carolina Beagle's owner, Stefan Oberstadt, he elects to move to an open free agent car to accommodate Jared Merchant joining Carolina Beagle. So now Stefan Oberstadt is no longer locked in to these races. He will have to qualify in on speed, and there's a chance he could go home in 2 weeks time during qualifying. Moving further on, Presidential Racing also opened up to a open free agent car, so Ryan Pinnell is no longer a locked-in driver. He is going to take a part-time or an open ride and attempt as many races as he wants. Presidential Racing, in turn, signs Davey Hawk and Brian Rupert to fill those 2 open vacant cars that the team had. And then when we thought, oh, that's not a lot of chaos, it gets even crazier. There was a 4-team trade after this where we saw more drivers moving ships. Jared Merchant, who had to change 2 addresses, will have to change a 3rd as he was traded from Carolina Beagle to 1MA Racing, the John Smeal organization. 1MA Racing then in turn traded Connor Knowlton to SRD Motorsports. SRD Motorsports then took Jared Newton, who they drafted, and traded them to Carolina Beagle. And Carolina Beagle took their first overall draft pick, Cody Pinnell, and sent him to B-Tron Racing. In return, B-Tron Racing sent Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence, the second to the last pick in the draft, back to Carolina Beagle Racing. And lastly, Carolina Beagle is now a Ford manufacturer. You got all that? That's a lot of information. We will remind you all throughout probably this whole Speed Weeks who went where. But you got to feel for Jarrett Merchant, who had to change 3 addresses in the span of about maybe a week's time. And one more thing to note, there was a new rule amendment added to the ARCS Constitution. Any driver leaving a team without being released must wait 3 races to join another team. However, that will not apply for any of the transactions I mentioned before. So if you thought the offseason was crazy enough with all the moves, just wait for 1 week of A squared, and you see so many drivers and teams moving, your head will spin.
Yeah, that is one way to put it, for an absolute shock here. Top of your screen, while we went over all of the sort of the changes that were sort of evolving there, top of your screen is how everyone's looking right now in practice. Again, so all this is sort of subject to change. We'll see more of this in qualifying here, but very wide expanding sort of time spans here with a lot of drivers ready to go here tonight. Again, we are working out some of the kinks here as we work along as well. So trust me, we're learning as we go here with this new system. Obviously, brand new overlay for 2025 that we're bringing to the ARCS community. And again, just figuring out the tools before we get into the duels next week as qualifying gets set to get underway. And I believe we're looking at right now the 21. That is Davey Halk in the 21. And let's see if we can find one of the team drivers here. One of the first ones out, I believe, was actually, I think, going to be
Matthew Kent was one of the owners along with Braille. So
let's focus on Dale Markowski, because in the test event, he was actually the fastest of the bunch.
Mm-hmm. Should be worth noting as well, you're going to see a lot of different drivers out on the track right now with different numbers than they ran last year. For instance, the 21, like we said, is no longer being piloted by Kevin Feemster. It is Davey Hawk. So a lot of different drivers, changed numbers relatively speaking, but obviously Dale Markowski still rocking that 33 car for Black Acid Racing. So as he will be the car that will, their first round draft pick that will take the inaugural first qualifying lap of the young A squared season of 2025. We'll see where he can pilot this machine, and can he get himself locked into the feature? We'll find out in about 3 minutes and some change. Electing to run the low line here to try to get forward, and this is where obviously there's a little bit of a strategy element you could play out to go on a point where you saw only 2 spots are available obviously it's hard to maybe sandbag per se to get everyone in the same heat because it's so open. But there's some drivers that may elect, because there's no cautions, maybe try a different strategy, start further back, and maybe elect to sandbag their one lap to ensure at the very least that maybe if chaos happens in their heat, they can capitalize and get one of those 5 spots. So as the first cars come across the finish line now, as we see now Markowski come across the line and cut the dog leg, we're going to see cars filing on the board, and he will go provisional 1 with Wright, Hawk, now Estes and Wright, Hawk and Kerr being top 5, and Markowski just got bumped by John Smeal, who went the fastest, and as it will change on a dime, now it is Christian Angel now top of the board. There's the 60 machine finishing their lap, and his cars file and fly on by. We're going to see tons and tons of names jump on in and out, but right now we can say, at least at the moment, the 48 of Martinez and the 60 of Patrick Oberstadt we saw just cross the line are the 2 fastest at the moment, both going 49.27 and 49.28 respectively. As we see who is left here, obviously was focusing on the 77 machine as they now escape outward. We still got well over another 15, 20 cars that have yet to set times, and we'll see if they can make a late charge here to jump towards the top of the board.
A lot of drivers in the mix right now. We're looking at Vincenzo Iacovazzi beginning his qualifying run. Got several drivers beginning their qualifying runs. Pressy, Mendez, Iacovazzi, all among that list here.
I'm keeping an eye on Tom Sears as he set a purple sector 1 as he is coming to finish his lap here. Where can Mr. Reliable put his machine as we still focus on the 77? He can bump towards the front row. On a part-time entry list, he will take one of the 2 open spots provisionally as we still focus on Iacovazzi as they are now on the backstretch in the number 77. Looking at who's left besides the number 77, we got Pressy, Merchant, George, who just crossed the line now. Nolan, Pressy, Mendez, and Jacob Degato are the last cars to make their runs. So the 77 comes across the line with just around a minute to spare. Can he bump Martinez or Sears off the top step? He will pivot his machine. 14th, splits between Sharp and Fleming, so will not be locked in, but at least somewhat towards the front for one of the heats he will qualify in. Pressy across the line now will jump the P4, but will not be good enough in that Ford, as he will also have to go through the heats. So you see who is left. We have Merchant coming across the line. Knowlton about to finish as well. There is Connor Knowlton, one of the pieces in the trade we talked about earlier, with a new home. As he cuts the dog leg here, can he bump Sears or Martinez out? He will not. He will jump high, but not high enough. And that will leave us with one car, Delgado, but he will not make it back to the stripe in time, meaning it looks like Martinez Jr. and Tom Sears will be the 2 cars locked into the main race. So they both will have no sweat on their brow, as they will have a little bit of a time off here as qualifying is officially concluded. And that is the 2 drivers that will make it through to the next round.
And that sets things up here for what will be 3 duels, 3 heat races, I should say, and then the B main coming up here. So everyone's going to have some work to do. 16 in this first heat. So let's go over the starting grid for this first heat here. Give me 1 second to get all this pulled up here because we're all figuring this out together. It is Martinez alongside Tom Sears there, the 48 and the 14. They make up row number 1. Row number 2 is Patrick Oberstadt and Nicholas Pressy. They sit in row number 2 together there. Then you have Austin Mongold and Mark Dila in row number 3.
I don't think that is accurate to what the heat currently is. That is where they qualified in the opening session. So Oberstadt is in this session. He will be the pole setter for this heat race we watch here. Yeah, so we'll watch that scroll over. Yeah, we'll let that scroll over here as we see the cars go away. I will read it off, but pay attention to the top of the screen to see where drivers file in. Patrick Oberstadt and Mark DeLayla, they will make up row number 1. John Smeal and Kevin Feemster will make up row number 2. Ryan Pinnell and James Mendez will make up row 3. Elliott Longenecker and Brian Dixon will make up row 4. Sorry, Pelt Sharp will be in row 4. Brian Dixon and Tommy Reynolds will be in row number 5. Brian Johnson and the number 32 Machina Murchino will be in row number 6. Briley Wright and Jared Newton in row number 7. And Davey Hawk and Jeremy Braille will bring up row number 8. So 2 champions in heat number 1 here in both Braille and Reynolds. Other than that, though, you see a lot of some Final Four drivers, some part-time drivers, a good mixture, and some rookies trying to make their splash here and show why they were picked in the draft.
Yeah, everyone's got a little bit of work to do here to get things ready to roll. As, again, we're looking at these heats. There's 3 of them that were set up for here tonight, and they're all going to be 15 laps apiece. That makes things pretty straightforward there. And again, there's not going to be any cautions for this either. We're not going to see cautions until we get to the B main and then the feature later on tonight.
And we also won't see any pit stops considering the tank is about 18 to 21 laps. So it will be green flag, 15 straight laps here. And you run till you run out of either talent or you come across the finish line. So as the pace car comes off of 4 here, we're going to get ready to kick this young A² season off with a little bit of clash racing here as we get on and get ready to start this festivity. So as the pace car takes the lonesome trip down pit lane in the Geico restart zone, Oberstadt will fire on off. Green flag is out, and away we go for heat number 1. 15 laps await these drivers. And as you can see, the inside line is beginning to move and move quickly. Oh, a little bit, almost a bad bump there in the 3rd row there, as the 8 almost got hooked. Now the point of stand is, how aggressive do you want to be in this situation? And in the backstretch, you focus on the number 80 machine of Mark DeLayla. Got Smeal behind. As that outside line is now beginning to charge forward here, hanging high to low. But as we come out of 4 here to finish the first lap, Patrick Oberstadt will lead to the flag, and he will take the first lap lead here in heat number 1, with Mendez, Sharp, Machino, and DeLayla being the top 5.
A really good run right now by James Mendez. This is his first run in ARCS, period. Was not present for the draft, was not an entrant for the draft, was not able to be drafted. Came in last minute, already looking really good, working with Patrick Oberstadt, who has plate wins in ARCS already. I am curious to see how that outside lane does fare. The outside lane in practice earlier this week was the lane to be in if you were making passes happen. So far, they're not making any headway on that inside lane. That inside lane just seems to be a lot more composed at the moment. And here comes a move to the outside. I believe that was the 32 of Mauricio trying to move to the outside lane, and it didn't work out. And now the outside lane even more behind the 8 ball here, with Mark Dila trying to lead that lane still ahead of John Smeal, and I believe that's the 12 of Ryan Pennell. It is just behind.
Yeah. Yep, obviously you can see a lot of different paint schemes as well that we saw previously last year, as cars now showing off new paints that we probably will see at least towards the 500 in a couple weeks' time. But right now it's still the Oberstadt show up front, outside line now beginning to get a little bit forward here. And this is where it gets interesting to a degree, as obviously with 5 spots trancing forward and only the main feature ending the prize here, as you can see right there, Oberstadt gets left out to dry, goes high-low, and Ricino comes spinning in the back, the 9 around. We have no caution, but they are going to be out of contention here as he is backwards. Looks like involved also was Bryant Dixon, Davey Hawk, and Elliott Longenecker is the number 9 machine, as you see one car blowing up there.
That was Davey Hawk that blew up the engine there. Tommy Reynolds at the very back has lost the draft, though. Not a great place to be in if you are Tommy Reynolds there. Brian Johnson just tail end of the group now, getting ahead of the chaos now. Remember, we do not have a ton of time available here. Davey Hawk officially coming to a stop so he can get to pit lane. And then there were 12.
There were 12. And obviously Reynolds is not out of the picture. Obviously he's lost the draft. He will not be in good contention to make it. But if Max Chaos does happen up here front, this could open the door for Reynolds maybe to sneak in. So Reynolds still going to keep the foot down here and try to get as close as we can. You can see right there as we ride on board with a 13 to Smeal. Oberstadt wants the lead back and will be followed by Mark DeLayla as he will now take the lead back, and Mendez will be hung out to dry on the high side here. And we see now getting a little bit of assistance from the 13 to Smeal. But Oberstadt lost the lead for about a lap, wants it back, and he will get the lap back led, as now we have 10 official laps to go here. And with 12 cars to go, if more cars begin to drop out, it makes it harder for the cars further back to get assistance to make runs work here and make runs happen moving forwards.
On board right now, Ryan Pennell sitting in the 10th spot. Again, top 5 gets you into the feature. 6th and lower, you have to move on to the B main and try to race your way in that way.
At least the positive in the B main, there are 13 spots, but the disadvantage is you'll be starting the further back you finish in the B main. Obviously, between 1 and 13, farther back you will be for the main race. And with pit stops in that stage, I believe, there is a risk that if you make a mistake, you could be heading to the trailer early, and we'll see you in 2 weeks at Speed Weeks. But back up front, as we still following here with Ryan Pennell, trying to take a full-time, now an open car entry, to try to get himself into the show. Up to 6th right now, just hanging around that transfer spot that is currently held by the 80 machine of Mark DeLayla. But at the very least, though, that high line is beginning to boogie, as Pennell and co is showing that maybe a third lane could be possible, could be viable here if a driver gets desperate enough. Little shove there by Ryan Pennell, now currently in the catbird seat, now actually up 1, as Mendez will lead that lap with Smeal in tow. And now Smeal going to jump on low and join teammate in co of Murchino as they will lock that bottom low here. So maybe a bit of an ill-advised move, as Night2 obviously got the lead of the lap, but just brought a teammate party to that inside line. That's going to be very hard to eradicate, as we've seen through many plate races in our time watching on this ABN Family Networks. You can see it once teammates kind of get linked up and they can kind of control the lanes, it's pretty much almost game over if you're not lucky enough to stay launched forward. Oh, Brian Johnson hits the wall.
Yeah, that was Johnson, who is now firmly adrift here. Gives us 11 in the outside lane, outnumbered. We'll have to rely a lot on the side drafting if they're going to try to have a chance here. SRD Motorsports on the inside lane. It's Smeal and Mauricio. Then it's Mendez and Pennell on the outside lane, followed by Jeremy Braille. And I believe that's 99 of Jared Newton as well.
There's one driver I do always want to count on when the chips are down in a plate race. It is Jeremy Braille. He has shown it many times, this next-gen machinery. You can put him in last, you can put him in first. They will find a way to be in a competitive spot when the race comes to its natural conclusion. You can see that right now. Started P16, now up to 3rd and firmly in the top 5 listing here, as you can see right there with a nice up-to-speed graphic. Shows the interval that he is behind the leader. He will now jump low to join up with former friend John Smeal and his new team in question, as they will now try to jump to the low side to try to move forward here. Bit of a risky move, but he thinks that's his best shot to try to win this feature, as that high line is still locked together with Mendez and Pennell.
Yeah. Obviously, Braille trying to lead that outside lane here. You can see they're getting approaching 200 miles an hour here. See if we can move over to Ryan Pennell, who did get above 200 miles an hour here entering turn 3 and 4, but now losing spots here. You see that the speed drop there down to 189. They'll have to try to get back up to speed quickly here. Ryan Pennell 2nd in line on the outside lane. Jimmy Braille matching pace right now and drifts back to the outside lane now. Gets ahead of James Mendez. And they'll push forward.
And as we get into the kind of closing laps here, we're going to see drivers be a bit more aggressive. But the question is, how aggressive do you want to be for a heat race to get to a main race? And I raises the question because drivers in the back of the mind, they got long memories. They make notes of things. And you do not want to be known as the guy or gal, because there are some gals in this field, that basically sideswipe someone for a heat win, because that could bring you comeuppance when the main race and the main prize of the show in a couple weeks' time, when no one wants to work with you. So you have to be smart, but also vigilant, and make sure, at the very least, you don't junk your car along with someone else's. So right now, Highline is pretty much in lockstep. Low side, couple car at the wall. It looks like it was the 80 machine, Delayla. He's going to hit it along with one of the SDR Motorsports machines. They'll stay with the draft, but Delayla will most likely lose it. It was the 13 of John Smeal that is going to have to hit the tow rope up and hope he can stay lockstepped. As now with coming to go with 3 laps to go next time by, it is pretty much a train, but you can see right there the 51 machine going low here to try to move forward of right. They're going to get hit by a lap car here. The 03 of Dixon is going to have just to play nice and not cause too much issues.
Going to 3 laps to go, only 2 cars in the inside lane. Unfortunately for Bradley Wright, that's not going to be the way forward at this point in time. Kind of watching it as everyone just sort of shifts around here. Now you see Patrick Overstat move to the bottom of the racetrack, but just not any help at the bottom right now. Your bottom lane, if you're going to see any moves, it's going to be on the very last lap. The top lane has become the lane to perch in. The inside lane, typically the shorter way around, is the harder way around here at Daytona. This car is so reliant on the side draft and the aerodynamics. The right side of these cars are way more vulnerable than the left side. But here you go, you see some cars moving to the inside. Jeremy Braille moves to get to the inside lane ahead of Patrick Oberstadt. He'll leave with 2 to go. And they are side by side, 4 deep behind.
E-Tron linking up. B-Tron linking up with the B-Tron owner, even though he's not technically under the B-Tron umbrella. He is a private car, but basically when the owner's paying the checks, you know you want to work with him. They'll catch 2 more lap down machines. Reynolds will just, sorry, the 9 of Lagenecker will get out of the way here. The other car there will get caught, but I assume he will yield. But up front, though, it is now becoming racy. B-Tron, along with the 51 to right, lock up the low sides, while the 92 of Mendez and Pinnell lead on the high side. And you can see the train as both B-Tron cars will go high to low here. They will take the top side now back low, as they're going to try to get a little bit of extra draft off to Davey Hawk as we head to the white flag lap here. 1 lap to go in heat number 1. Braille, Oberstadt, Mendez, Pinnell, Newton, your top 5. And Newton's going to have to fight for his life if he wants to stay in that transfer shop with Sharp, Feemster, and Briley Wright all hungry behind and maybe looking to make a move and leave him out to be the dinner on the table.
Everyone's scrambling now down the back straightaway for the final time in Heat 1. We know how good these B-Tron racing cars can be at these restrictor plates. Mendez in 3rd, Pinnell in 4th. Dropping back is Jared Newton. Went to the inside lane, nothing going there. Ryan Pinnell goes to the inside lane. It's going to be a 4-car shootout at the front, and a car gets turned at the very end. I believe that was Feemster that got turned.
It was, but Feemster made a great move there coming out of 3 and 4. If you saw on the camera, he threaded the needle, and he will get the last transfer spot. So even though that car is junked, he will get a nice magical one, and he will make it to the feature. Made it in a great move there. Was watching him, and he will transfer through along with Ryan Pinnell, Patrick Oberstadt, James Mendez, and Jeremy Braille, who picks up where he was during the All-Star race last year and ends it as a win, as B-Tron going to cause a little extra bodywork damage there. They'll have to buff out for the main feature. But Jeremy Braille dominates Daytona, has won back-to-back 500s, maybe going to try to go for a 3rd in a couple weeks' time, but at the very least, he starts this season off right with an official heat win here at the Clash. Heat 1 officially comes to a close as Braille burns it down the backstretch.
Absolutely, a fantastic job there. And again, for those joining in, welcome to the 7-Bar Barbecue A-Square Clash presented by ARCS Racing Experience. We get to do this again. 2 more heats in this event here. Both of them 15 laps, and then we have the B main Top 5 made it in from the last one, so now it's time to go after it all over again. Starting grid's going to be running at the top of your screen. It's Nick Pressey and Mike LaJoy that'll be at the front of the field to bring the 16-car group to the start of stage, or to the start of Heat 2.
15 laps.
They'll be followed behind by Zach Millett and Joshua Battles in row number 2, with Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence and Vincenzo Ivacci will be in row number 3. Steve Tucker, Joshua Gaiman in row 4, Tommy Withers and Cody Pennell in row number 5, Jared Merchant, Elfridge George in row 6, Jonathan Adams and Kyle St. Jean in row 7, and Bryant Rupert and Stefan Oberstadt in row number 8. And the first heat, you could say, was a lot of champions. Heat number 2, I generally could probably chalk this up to a lot of first-round draft picks, as you got Pennell, Gaiman, Millett, all in this session. And then you even got some strong names as well. Stefan Oberstadt, a team owner. Nicholas Pressey, we've seen him very strong in the Champ Car machinery, and he should be another driver to keep an eye out for as well. Just a lot of strong drivers in this first one. So the first one was champions. This one is all about the high draft picks and how they will get accustomed to the high banks of Daytona, with a lot of them being with new teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting time period for them going into this. It's everyone just kind of figuring new things out as we get in here. Obviously, this is what we're looking at here at Daytona. 15 laps. It's not 1 mile lap time there. That's a little bit of a glitch, but it's about, 15 laps. You're looking at a little over, actually a little under about 50 miles here. Pit road speed, 55 miles an hour. Pit window, which we're not going to need now. We're not going to worry about that until we get to the B main. 18 to 21 laps in these cars. And as you can see, the banking in the corners, 31 degrees. On the front stretch, on the tri-oval, 18 degrees. And on the back straightaway, 3 degrees of banking here in Daytona. That's what these drivers have to deal with here tonight to get everything underway. But as the pace car will take the hard left into pit lane, it's going to be in the hands of Pressey and LaJoy to bring this second heat into the mix. Here we go. Green flag is in the air, and away we go.
So as they come to finish a lap number 1 in heat number 2, Pressey will lead them to that line. Should be worth noting, the 11 machine of Josh Battles elected to start from the pit lane there. Was dealing with a little bit of some connection issues during qualifying and whatnot, so maybe being safer than sorry. But he will, at the very least, be very far back here, now officially 1 lap down. So he is pretty much going to be out of contention as Doritos machine unless pure chaos elects to happen. But as we still follow on board here with the lead cars, Pressey and Millett will train up on that low side along with the rookie in the number 77 machine. But leading that high line right now, I believe, is Josh Gaiman, and is with his new teammate number 29, both driving for Dirty Air Motorsports and the Kevin Feemster machinery that he's driving. Is obviously they have some fresh paint schemes on. It does not show up right now on the broadcast, but just be shown that they have some good sponsored cars on those machines as LaJoy is trying to push his newfound teammate towards the front here on that high line.
Yeah, Mike LaJoy following Josh Gaiman at the moment. You have the 24 of Steve Tucker on the inside lane at the moment. Everyone following along here. This is the 10. Actually, I believe that's supposed to be that's supposed to be
10?
It's the 996 on our overlay, but it's supposed to be the 10 at Kyle St. Jean. And then Josh Gaiman obviously falling back here with LaJoy, the inside lane, way more put together at this point. Running aboard here with Mike LaJoy, a veteran of the A Square Cup Series. Remember,
One
top
thing
5
I
make
will...
it in.
One thing I will note I kind of like is a lot of these drivers are electing to run team-sponsored machines with their ownership team in mind. So obviously, as you see on the high sides, obviously it was supposed to be Dirty Air currently following us. It looks like we refreshed trading paints to try to get that working. But you can see on the wide shot, the 24 is currently in the Ragged Racing machine. Or you can see a little bit further back, those two red and blue cars are both 1MA machines. Or in the previous heat we saw with SMD Motorsports electing to run those green and black machines. So a lot of teams electing to use this clash as maybe a good chance to show off, hey, we're new teams, this is what our logos look like, our colors, and kind of get the viewers internalized with what their colors look like. And we see a hook in the back, though. That is going to be the 28 of Pinnell, Cody Pinnell, getting into the wall there along with Tommy Withers. So Withers, a late draft pick, and with Sonny Money and Cody Pinnell, first-round draft pick who got traded, they are pretty much going to be done with any chances of them making it to the feature, at least in this heat. They'll have to giddy on up for the consolation race to try to get into the main show. And let's hope no friendships kind of get broken there, and they can kind of get it pushed off here. But up front, it's Tucker, Gaiman, LaJoy, your top three, with Millet being the last driver in that transfer spot. As everyone seems pretty comfortable to ride. You can see Stefan Oberstadt, usually one of those pipers that likes to lead trains. He is on that low side right now, just trying to hope anyone goes with him. But it seems at the moment, no one is taking the bait.
Completing lap 5, 10 laps to go in heat number 2 here in Daytona. Still have a lot of work left to go, though, in this event.
A lot more calm than we saw in the first heat here. A lot of aggressive side drafting, lane different changes here. Everyone seems kind of poised just to run. They don't want to really risk it. They don't want to jump high and low. And we do kind of see that at complaint in real-life NASCAR. It can be a bit hard to make moves. Sometimes you'll pull out, and it'll feel like you have a parachute on the back if you don't get the run to kind of work with you. Right now, again, maybe what we'll see during the main 500 in a situation where we get to maybe the middle of stage 1 or stage 2, and drivers just maybe a bit comfortable to work around here to try to get, just try to make sure they get to the end of stage or the pit stop window without ending up on their roof. But as you see further back, Oberstadt going to try to move forward with the 8 machine of Adams, and it looks like also the 6 of Rupert. We're thinking about trying to help here, but he will stay provisionally on the high side. But Steve Tucker leading the way with Raggy Racing, first over draft pick, leading with Gaiman and LaJoy, your top 3.
Yeah, right now you see the inside lane beginning to kind of come together a little bit here. That's Steven Oberstadt in the middle of that group. I believe Jonathan Adams in that mix as well. Lap traffic about to come up here. This is Josh Battles about to go a lap down. Keep an eye on that inside lane. That's Iacobazzi alongside Oberstadt moving forward. The 77 up to 3rd. Teammates there, the 3 and the 77, representing the only short track series that ARCS runs with the late model stock car. I believe, looking further back, this is 51. That is, I believe, double checking on this, I believe that actually is Zach Millett. It should be.
Yeah, it's a 31 on my screen, so he is in the right number on my screen.
Yeah.
It looks like obviously the 51 is probably right, who we saw in the first stage. But you can see right now those Carolina Beagle machines, they got ended up getting split. And I think we kind of saw it while we were watching there. 77 had a bit of a blink. That kind of caused a bit of a checkup. And that in turn caused an accordion. That in turn just caused everyone to bail here. So inside line, as quick as it came, it dissipated just like a summer rain, as they'll have to get geared up and move on again as the sun is slowly setting here as well. Obviously, I don't think we'll reach night at the rate we're going, but we're getting into that, again, that time frame that you'll see as these drivers will come across the line in a couple weeks' time. It will be similar conditions to this, where the sun is setting and one driver will end up hoisting the crown and start their season off with a bang. Coming now to 6 laps to go, it is still Tucker leading that outside line with Gaiman in tow. But now Oberstadt again charging low when it looks like the 10 of St. Jean trying to help push Oberstadt to break up that monotony of Raggy Racing and Dirty Air Motorsports.
Yeah, Kyle St. Jean doing a really good job right now, up to the 2nd spot. Just kind of following along with Oberstadt. Steven Overstat knows what it's like to win a restrictor plate race in the A Square Cup Series. Did it at Talladega. Trying to do so, though, here in Daytona. His brother Patrick won the Saturday Night Showdown race a couple seasons ago, right here in Daytona. St. Jean goes up to the top, and that bunched up the outside lane badly. St. Jean leads that lap, but he won't lead for much longer here if that inside lane has any momentum to say about it.
Again, I talked about making friends, and that's a perfect example right there. If you make those chop blocks in certain situations, you're not going to end up winning this race facing forward. But luckily, again, a bit of a short memory there. Millet says, look, I got to work with you again, and they'll stay on that high side. Meanwhile, that low line is Carolina Beagle locked down, as they will push lowly here, as we got a little lap traffic coming up here, I believe, if I saw it correct, but it may have been misspoken. But as you see further back,
lap traffic coming up, Cody Pinnell and Josh Battles.
Okay, so I was correct on that one. I thought I saw some machines there. But as we come to 4 laps to go, right now that transfer spot is the 31 of Zach Millet. He's going to have his hands full here if he's not careful. He's either going to have to make a move and get off the bump line, which now he's up to 4th, or he's going to have to make a charge. So we'll see what he does here, and we'll see who can make the runs happen. As you see right there, the Twen get into the wall just a tiny bit. And that's going to slow that line up maybe just a tiny bit on the high line. Could open the door for that 3 on the low line.
Yeah, right now, remember, Zach Millet's not going to have a lot of friends either. Obviously, the drama of the trades that we saw over the past week was initiated by that of the 31 of Zach Millet. So he's not going to have a lot of friends right now. So he's got to work with whoever's available for him. Right now, that's Kyle St. Jean. Josh Gaiman there sitting in the 3rd spot in the 61 ahead of Mike LaJoy. Steven Overstat still leading the inside lane, but it seems like it's a failing effort at this moment. 3 laps to go. And that outside lane beginning to pull forward.
Saw that in Heat 1. We're seeing that heat again. Outside line seems to be the place you want to be when the push comes to shove here. Now you can see, though, again, we'll see. Oh, Gaiman almost going to side draft. Thought maybe taking a second lane. He will take the middle here with his teammate in tow of LaJoy, as they will charge low. Problem is, will the line go with them or will they stay? And they will shuffle out Zach Millet at the moment. Question is, what will the 77 do? Will he help the 31? Will he send the 31 back? And you can see the 68 as well of Merchant going to try to come up here and try to get some assistance here. And the 77 will abandon the 29, and they will stay high as a few cars touch the wall.
Millet got put in the wall by St. Jean. Gaiman leads the way, and it's 3 wide behind him. And he's going to get swallowed up. He's now in the middle lane. He's going to choose the outside. Choose to work with Millet. St. Jean goes to the middle with help from the 29 of Mike LaJoy. And now they go! There's a huge crash.
There's the big crash. I was just about to say, if they made it back, I was going to be shocked. And they did not.
That is unfortunately not the case. And that makes it very straightforward for the top 5. It's Gaiman, Overstat, Yakavazzi, Tucker, and Lawrence, the 5th place car. All they have to do is get back around for this 2.5-mile lap. Lap 15. And Gaiman gets turned. Gaiman got turned by Overstat.
Well, that's how you don't make friends.
Out of the lead with 1 lap to go, and now it's a battle between Nick Pressey.
Nope, just Nick Pressey. That's
Pressey. It's Pressey and Lawrence together there.
Yeah, no, it's Pressey, and actually it's the 11 of Battles. So
yeah, you're right.
Pressey's alone, so he is good at the moment, unless another car elects to make a mistake here in this top 4.
Yeah, you have to look at it here. Yakavazzi gets to Overstat. You don't turn your team boss. Whatever you do not turn your team boss, Vincenzo. They'll go side by side. Overstat will drop to 4th, but he's safe. Yakavazzi wins Heat 2 over Lawrence and Tucker. Overstat and Pressey will make up the transfer spots here. And Josh Gaiman, who just a lap ago was leading and looking scot-free, will now have to deal with a 40-car B-main to try to race for 13 spots.
Oh, that's going to make him a bit fuming right now at the very least.
Great race, Heat 2.
So, Heat 2 ends here. Gaiman going to probably put a chip on the shoulder here. Obviously, though, at the very least, good finish for Carolina Beagle. 3 out of their cars made it in the top 5, so 3 Carolina Beagle machines will make it to heat number 2. And that will pivot us to the 3rd heat here, as we got... Basically, we'll see as we cheat the eye board on the top of the screen here, we'll see the 16 drivers that will make up heat number 3. Austin Mongold will be the pole sitter for this heat, with Christian Angel taking up the 2nd spot there. Matt Vordon, Dale Markowski going to be in row number 2. Chris Fleming and Connor Knowlton in row number 3. Brandon Featherplace and Toby Estes in row 4. Edward Marshall and Colin McDonald in row number 5. Matthew Kent and Ross Baxter in row 6. James Kerr, David Wright in row 7. And Alfie Charon Jr. and Jacob Delgado will make up the last row in row number 8.
Everyone gritting up here again, another 15 laps. This is the final of 3 heats to compose the start of this
Everything's on green to start
clash.
The race. No cautions, 15 laps, top 5 transfer.
Again, we also have the B main,
to eliminate as much
and then we have the main event. So we have a lot of work to do here. The main event, 50 laps here tonight. So we know there's at least a good pit stop, likely 2 pit stops in this event, as everyone gets ready to go. Austin Mongold and Christian Angel will get us ready to go racing here. Austin Mongold for Beatron, Christian Angel for Presidential. A lot of team-based paints here going on for those that were drafted. Yeah, Matt Vorndran from the ARCS Race Experience, which you see the presenting sponsor of today's event for the 7-bar barbecue A-Square Clash in 2025. Again, we're glad you're with us here for this event. This is the race 0 of the season. Again, 15 laps coming up here.
Obviously, before today, it was before 0. Now, after this clash, it will be after 0 as we head on from 0. And we'll see, and again, a couple weeks, we'll have qualifying, and then the main show, the 500. Obviously, we'll take the week off next week. Well, actually, next week we qualify, then they'll take the week off after that for the big game, and then it will be the 500. So, just got to remember my calendar for a second. But as the pace car gets on ready here to pull off, control will be on Mongold here, who's going to try to keep B-Tron's success going here. And there he's going to try to join his main compadres in the main feature if he can hang on here. So his pace car pulls on off to get ready to enter the restart zone. Heat C, as the green flag is now officially out, Heat C is now officially underway here. 15 laps await these drivers. As lap 1 comes to the close, Mongold will take the lead lap there and will lead that lap, but Angel is riding high there. Presidential Racing on that high side to try to get himself also in lead a lap as well, as they will both be side by side. And you can see, obviously, it's the Smeal Racing Design machines there taking the other 2 spots. So Black Acid Racing, actually, it's 3, basically B-Tron and Presidential, and after that, it's 2 Black Acid cars and 2 SMD Motorsports cars. The only kind of problem is they are both not in line with each other, as they are stuck on opposite lanes. They'll try to maybe rectify that if they can in the next couple laps. But you can see right now, it's still going to be Austin Mongold leading the way, as he will lead that next lap. And I do wonder, as we see this stage go on here for Heat 3, first stage and second stage, Well, second stage a little more chaos build than the first one. Will it follow the natural train of progression? This one even be more chaos filled? Will this be the calmest of them all? We'll find out in due time.
Typical rule of thumb, when there's two, one duel's hectic, the other's calm and collected. We're obviously playing with, really there's 5 races in this event. So, I'm assuming it's a scale. Whether or not it's a progressing scale or if it's just a randomly generated scale is to be determined. I would have to assume if this race is calm, that means that the B main is going to be a lot more chaotic, and then we'll have the main event, the 30-car 50-lap feature, which will be a little bit more calm. I would have to say a calm way to end it until we get obviously to like the last 5 laps.
Yeah, no, you would be probably correct on that assumption. Is obviously the last chance qualifier to get into the main race is definitely going to be chaotic when you have over 40 cars fighting for 13 spots. You're going to see a lot of gloves come out and those tight little spots in the back. But anyway, Mongold still charging. You got Presidential side by side with SMD, Angel and Verdon. Both going to run the charge, but Mongol doing well, taking lessons maybe learned from the P-Tron cars in the past, knowing how to control those lanes. Shows you why Braille had high praise for the 4 machine, especially during the draft when he gave him the big old hype up for the Dr. Pepper man. But Angel is going to jump on low and is now going to take that lead back, and he will now be on the load line charging with Verdon.
Running on board here, this is with Brandon Fetterplace. 200 miles an hour in traffic. 202 is what they got to in 3. Everyone building momentum here, running on board with the 34 car, the Cincinnati native here as Fetterplace looks into the sun. Now being blocked out by the grandstands and the press box. Right now just shadowing Chris Fleming, getting right to that bumper. Really good. There's the roof camera for Fetterplace.
And it's an interesting reversal fortune here, as now the low line is kind of right now at the moment the lane that is currently being trained. As we saw in the past 2 heats, the outside line was really the lane that was where a lot of cars like to ride there. You can see, as you can see behind Fetterplace, obviously 1 car ahead of the transfer line that currently be held by Edward Marshall, and it is a bit of a fight there. So it's a bit of the calm for the storm here, as Fetterplace knows he's comfortably right now in 4th. But similar to Millet, knowing the trade details that happened, he's another driver that's going to have a bit of a target on his back and could be susceptible to being not worked with in certain situations. But right now, as you see, it's the 4 of Mongold and the 2 of Knowlton as they will try to charge forward here and try to get both of them inside that top 5. Good. Oh, I thought the 38 was going to move there for a second, but he did not end up moving in front of the 4 there. And we'll stay low as we're still riding forward here with Fetterplace, just showing how competitive it can get for that last transfer spot as now we ride on board here with Knowlton. You can see he's cool as a cucumber in that green fire suit. But you know, in his virtual setup, or his real life setup, I should say, it is probably all hands on deck as he is hanging on to that 5th spot currently, just trying to get that 4 a bit closer to that front to give himself a little bit more leeway to get ahead. Yeah, you are correct. They are aggressively side drafting each other. Oh, looks like the 00 going to try to make a 3rd line happen.
That's where you saw what happened. It was Christian Angel that got moved to the middle lane, got dispatched by the 00 of Matt Bondran. The 38 behind Chris Fleming, helping assist. Austin Mongo gets to the point ahead of Connor Knowlton, who lines up with his teammate there for SRD Motorsports. But now it is Toby Estes, the 23 car, the A² Cup Series veteran, on the outside lane. Mongo gets squirrely under the pressure. Estes and Markowski top lane. They're going to the point. And just like that, Christian Angel in the 76 car went from 1st to 13th.
Oh. Can be a hard knock world for the Rook, and you can see that right there as he is now going to have to try to recoup and re-energize himself to get back towards that point there. The problem is he's only going to have coming out of 6 laps to go to try to charge that way. So Estes will take that lap lead there. Haven't said much about Estes tonight. Pretty good driver in his own rights as he ended up winning the All-Star race 2 seasons ago. Now back here in that 23, we'll see what he can do as he's helped by the first-round draft pick of Dale Markowski on that high side.
Not only the first-round draft pick, the #1 draft pick of Markowski up near the front. Also up near the front, third in line on the outside lane, Ross Baxter, the West Virginia native, trying to get forward here, as well as the number 91. You see that ally machine, Jacob Delgado, racing as an independent driver. I do believe, yes, he is independent. Undrafted here in the draft. Here goes Mongo to the top lane, and Norton does not want to work with him. Markowski's got no choice. Neither does his 00 of Matt Vorndran, but it's Norton that gets to the point. Now ahead of Fleming in better place.
To be fair, that speed differential, I don't think there was much he could have done. Either mash the brake or try to get around him, and he chose to go around. And you can see how that affected that speed differential. It just killed that outside line like an anchor. And now, though, weird move by Knowlton. He's going to jump high here. He's going to get a little help here. Look who's back in the top 5 again. It's the 76, the Christian Angel.
Whoa, look at Mongo outside lane. Up near the wall. He gets around him. Really
lovely
aggressive move by Mongold. We've not seen a move like that from Mongold at a plate track in quite some time, let alone having one like that stick. Unfortunately, now this car is on the outside lane ahead with 4 laps to go. Time is running out. If you're not in the top 5, you need to be making your way there ASAP. That's the 07 of Alfie Sharon Jr. Not a rookie, but not a reliable statistician in that 07 machine, and not reliable at the front of the field. Very unknown quality there for Alfie Sharon Jr.
We'll have to get around Black Acid Racing 75 at James Kerr at the moment. As you can see, just holding the line here.
James Kerr is that transfer spot, that 5th place.
He's in an interesting spot right now. Obviously, you want to get yourself in.
Outside lane, they left that 07 out to dry. And obviously, you have to be able to trust people, and Alfie Sharon Jr. has not been a part of any practice, any testing up to this point. Go with who you can work with. That is Markowski, that is Knowlton, and that is Mongold on the outside lane, followed by the 91 of Delgado and the 00 of Matt Vorndran. Estes gets dropped to the 6th row in that outside lane, and there goes Sharon Jr. and that 07 to the outside as well. Top 5 make it in, coming to 2 laps to go. Who's it going to be? The outside lane, now that they've dispatched the 07, has some work to do. 3 wide in the back, that is Estes in the middle, trying to find a way forward. Sharon Jr. not great at leading, really good at pushing. Estes has momentum. And they're side drafting. That is the 15 of Matthew Kent being side drafted by Estes. The outside lane has the best momentum at the moment because of that side drafting in that middle lane. That inside lane's falling apart. Mongold to the inside. Is he going to get covered off by Markowski? Yes, he will.
Oh, he is. Oh, you can see right now, you can split him with a paperclip. The side drafting is getting aggressive. You can see the 3rd lane led by Verdon. Markowski jumping high to low here in that Taco Bell 33 for Black Acid Racing.
Look at Estes.
Oh, Mongold got a little squirrely on the back bumper of that Black Acid Racing 38. White flag in the air. Markowski leading at the moment. Question is, will they all make it back? And how aggressive will you be to get that last transfer?
This could save Mongold. He's got Sharon in front of him. He just needs to push him for a half a lap. Estes in the middle, followed by Delgado. Markowski playing all 3 lanes. He's in the middle, trying to lead all the lanes around. This is going to be crazy. Estes gets clear. Delgado does not. Car gets pushed. That's Knowlton up in the wall. 4
Big
wide,
save.
right behind.
Not anymore.
This is for the transfer. You have to be 5th or better. Mongold is in 6th. It'll be Dale Markowski that wins heat number 3. Mongold misses out by 1 spot. Alfie Sharon Jr., the unknown quality in the 07, gets the last transfer after starting this race on the last row. Markowski, though, as you see cars flying, that was Austin Mongold that went for a giant skid. Dale Markowski wins Heat 3, and now we jump immediately into the B main, the last chance qualifier. 33 cars going for 13 spots.
And I just want to note one thing about that heat real fast. Sharon, obviously unknown quality. No one wanted to work with him. Well, he found his way in. One thing he's got to be careful about.
And it worked out.
The only thing he's got to be careful, though, is he went below the line there trying to make a move for 4th. Could have got DQ'd if he wasn't careful in the main race. So have to make sure he doesn't do that in the main race, or else he may not be taking back the flag. But right now, you can see it is going to be a crowded show here tonight. Obviously, leading the way will be the 4th place finishers in Heat 1 and Heat 2 of both, like 6th place, I should say, of Newton and Gaiman. Then Mongold, obviously, saw in Heat C. He'll be in row number 2 along with Briley Wright. For that, though, it is a who's who of names. A lot of big drivers, past champions, Final 4 drivers, first-round draft picks, all in this field, and only 13 spots are available. So as you see on the top of the screen, all the drivers in this heat scrolling through right now. Question is, after 20 laps, have to be just a tiny bit of saving here, because if you're not careful with the stage being 18 to 21 laps, you could run out. So these drivers will have to do at least a little bit of coasting and saving to ensurely get themselves to the line. However, the one saving grace is, or maybe the not saving grace, is that there are going to be cautions. So there will be cautions for this consolation and the main feature. So cautions will be called. Drivers will, if driver spins, they will be called.
So very interesting here. So Heat 3, despite the craziness of the last lap, was largely calm. Like, it was fierce, it was competitive, but it was calm. We didn't have a lot of accidents until the very last lap there. Remember, 20 laps. This is a race where things can go pretty haywire in a hurry. So it's going to be very interesting to see if we can follow along with that here. And as you mentioned, we'll pull up the race analysis, the track facts here. 20 laps, the pit window straddles that line. So there may be, if this race goes green, it's very possible that we might see drivers run out of fuel here. One caution, though, that's out the window, and we're good to go.
Yep. Same point, the cars that want to lead this whole stage, like you said, they could be at risk of running out, so there'll have to be a situation where you may have to concede. You may have to drop back a little bit to make sure you can try to find that fuel, but if you also are leading the train, you can control the speed, but we've seen it before in previous races in the ABN family networks, where we've seen cars just try to save. One car's like, yeah, I'm not doing that, pull forward, and next you know, the rest of the field either has to match their pace or get left in the dust. Reminded of a move Bailey Thompson did a couple seasons ago in HTL. But his pace car gets ready to pull on off here. 20 laps await these drivers. You see the pretty clean graphics of all the teams and new logos these teams will have. So as we pull on off the pace car, it's going to be on Newton's control. Green flag is out, and away we go for the consolation race. 13 drivers will make it through to the main. Question is, who will those 13 be? And yellow flag and big wreck, multiple cars involved here, and that could be a big old incident point for a lot of drivers. Kerr, Marshall, Kent, Feather Place, all involved, and you can see the car park that is caused by this. See match damage for Edward Marshall, heavy damage for Long and Necker. That 1MA machine there a little bit further back damaged, and a lot of cars in major damage here. And the question is, you saw this is the risk of finishing bad in the heat. You kind of had nowhere to go when that wreck occurred. So we'll take a look at this in a second here, but you see the 80 of Daytona. He has heavy damage there. It looks like one of those wheels is not even spinning. As we take a look here on the replay, we're focusing on Matthew Kent at the moment, 72 of Brian Johnson on our screen. We'll move a little bit further up here. You can see him 3 wide towards the front. And as we'll play it out here in just a second, keep an eye on that middle of the pack. Got a sense here. Yep, right there. The number 9 hits the wall just a tiny bit, and that's all enough when he tried to come down. Just sent him across the racing surface, and a lot of drivers had nowhere to go here as they had to take evasive action.
I don't believe that was the 9. I'm trying to see who that is.
It's one of the other red machines. Reynolds, maybe?
I think
I'll get an unsafe pit exit.
it's not the 15. It's not. It was. I'm trying to see who this might have been.
Clear that. I can only clear when you wreck.
I'm rewinding back to see myself.
Sorry.
It was a 16.
Yeah, it was 16. Edward Marshall.
I need
Yeah.
a car to pass me, guys.
So Edward Marshall is who we're looking at here. And again, he's kind of looking at this. Edward Marshall, this is real-time stats for as far as like what he's looking at here. But Marshall was the one we were looking at here for this,
Ryan,
and
it still gives them an unsafe
sort of
pit
browsing.
exit,
We'll
even with the
slow down
wrecking
and move
pit
this
road
backwards
onto
here.
that one can go, I think. Yeah.
We'll see. Again, we'll play it in real speed in a second, or at least slow speed. But you'll just see on the high line, again, gets maybe a little bit of a bad push. As we'll see if we can get a back shot. There we go. And we'll see as we play it, presumably now, the 1A machine behind him just trying to give a shove. Does he get a bad push, or does he just get a little squirrely? Oh, yeah, just in the wall just a bit. 1A car of George gives a little tap there, and that sends him down right into the 32 machine. Then it shoots him right back up, right into the buoy machine. And at that point, it just becomes a track blocker. A lot of drivers know where to go as they have to get on the brakes quickly and just try to avoid the chaos. And you can see for a lot, that was not a good situation. The Layla gets lifted up in the air there, along with another presidential racing machine. A lot of stop there by the that STP machine tried to avoid it.
Tommy Withers,
it's Cody Purnell, Tommy Withers, and just got a little hip check there by Marshall. And you can see Kerr looks relatively unscathed, but you can see a lot of those cars that were in the thick of it, they are damaged pretty badly. The good news is, though, at the very least, there is one fast repair in this race. Whether or not they can use it in this heat or not is in the air with a lot of pit times for some of these drivers. I'm not so sure, as a lot of cars are still damaged, but there's a fast repair somewhere available to these drivers. But a lot of torn up damage for Layla. Featherplace just missed his box with the damage he has. So overall, we'll see who can come back out and be competitive. But at the moment, as I try to do a head count to see who exactly was involved here, how many cars, my count comes up to 8 at the very least, but we saw at least with enough damage to be flagged by our systems. However, there were at least, probably you could put another 10 to 15 in total to get in that situation.
So whatever penalty it's telling you to serve, it's because you wrecked down pit road. I did clear everything, so no one has an active black flag, but iRacing is still telling you to do what it's telling you to do. So got to go with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, if you get an EOL, even if it's cleared, you still have to go back.
Yeah, it sucks. It's all right. Appreciate the help.
So as the lights are now out officially on the pace car here, if my count is correct, should be going presumably green this time by. Those laps a bit tick off here. It's going to be a bit of a shorter. This is the caution that is going to allow these drivers to save some fuel here, to try to get comfortably into the window to make it on not pitting here. However, at least some cars elected to come down without damage, and they will, at the very least, be in a spot where they'll top off and be in a better spot than some of these drivers currently up front. But up front, it'll be Zach Millett, Jared Newton. They'll make up row 1. Briley Wright, Austin Mongold in row 2. Lily Peltier-Sharp, David Wright, row 3. Brian Johnson, Cody Purnell, row 4. Tommy Reynolds, Brian Dixon, row 5.
Baby.
And currently, last car in on transfer is James Kerr, side by side with Brandon Featherplace in row number 7. So we'll keep an eye on that throughout this stint, as that will be the last driver to make it in. But seeing how many cars are still around, some cars like Hauk will have an EOL. They'll have to serve. So they could be taken out of contention quite quickly, bearing another caution. So pace car going to get on ready here to take the lonesome trip down pit lane. Control will be on the 99 of Newton. These drivers will take a little bit of a lesson they saw there and make the stage a bit less chaotic here. As green flag is out, and away we go with 16 more laps to go here as we fall on board here with James Kerr. Currently, not the last car anymore. Feather Place is, but they'll be side by side for that last transfer spot, heading off into one. Let's take a look at the RPMs here, getting up the speed. They start about going about 50 to 60, now already quickly up here. Bit of a check up there on the high line. Kerr has to get on the brakes, and you can see right there, car getting put into the middle. They will get sent a little bit further back here as cars now begin to take shape. Here following Tommy Reynolds in the number 7. Now again, last car in on his own right here. Previous champion of 2 seasons ago. Here on a part-time basis, looking to try to get into the main feature. So he'll get a good draft here and get side by side with the 42 of Wright as we got now 15 laps to go here. See more chaos lacking up here as you see on the high side there. Oh, big hip check. One of the buoy machines cards in the wall. More cars spinning down low. We'll see if that's a caution. Right now it is still green out, and there will be the yellow. One of the buoy machines got hip check, trying to see which one it was.
Missed that one.
I think it was not Feather Play, so it was, I think it's going to be Zach Burchin, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, that will be the first caution here. As a few other cars, some SDM Motorsports machines end up going sideways. It's a very chaos-filled B main here. It was the 03 that ended up getting hit check there, which was Brian Dixon. So it wasn't Zach Merchant. My mistake. It was Brian Dixon that ended up hitting that wall a ton there. So we'll take a look here at the replay.
Yeah, see if we can get the chopper cam here, and you can already see the chaos that's sort of spawned out of this. And the reason why we're focusing on Connor Knowlton, because he takes a wild shot here. Brian Dixon, everyone trying to avoid. Everyone having a not so fun time there. That's
the point you want to avoid. 2 teammates coming together there, and both going around. Something that sends a team owner's heart to his chest. Or heart to his stomach, I should say. As you can see, taking a look here from the eye in the sky, heading up a little bit higher, where we can see it all kick off, focusing on that 03 machine at Dixon. As you can see, just trying to push there.
He just gets offset. He just gets massively offset there, and it's almost 2 cars in the wall there. In all reality, surprised it wasn't. Teammates there, the 13 and the 2, they go for a wild ride, as does the 8. The 8 of Jonathan Adams. So now we're sitting with a lot of cars in pit lane at this point. Here the cars still in pit lane off to the top right of your screen. Where they're at right now, 33 cars, and they're not sitting pretty at the moment. It is Jared Newton, though, at the front of the field. Once again with Zach Millett, Bradley Wright, Cody Pennell, and Austin Mongold. Their top 5. Peltier Sharp in 6. Riley Mauricio in the 7th spot. David Wright, Chris Fleming, James Kerr the 3rd. Brian Johnson, Tommy Reynolds, and Brandon Fetterplace, your top 13. If the race were in right now, we know it's definitely not going to, with coming to 12 laps to go. Those would be the ones in. Jared Merchant would be the first one out. Elliot Longenecker, Colin McDonough, Kyle St. Jean, Ross Baxter, Elrich George, Davey Hauk, Brian Rupert, Matt Vorndren, Tommy Withers, Josh Gaiman, Brian Dixon, Connor Knowlton, Mike LaJoy, Edward Marshall, John Smeal, Mark Dila, Josh Battles, Matthew Kent, and Jonathan Adams will all be those having to watch the main event from the sidelines as things sit right now. See more cars beginning to leave pit lane slowly but surely as we approach 1 to go before we go back green for our second caution of the night here in the B main, the last chance qualifier.
Well, at least the one positive is with these extra caution laps, it will firmly ensure that Newton, Millett, the drivers up front, they will not have to come down pit lane here in this heat, obviously unless they end up crashing out or getting damaged. So they will be comfortable on fuel. So there's the top 5 right now at the moment. Newton, Millett, Wright, Pennell, Mongold. After only 8 laps of 20 here in the final transfer before the main show of the clash. As we'll see in just coming up shortly after this Heat B finishes up here.
Obviously, a lot of different things we're playing with at the moment. For those that have noticed some of the hiccups we've had to deal with, we apologize, but exciting times here as we work through Speedways here in Daytona for the 2025 ARCS A2 Cup Series season. I want to point out a couple of the sponsors here. OC Series sponsor 7 Bar Barbecue jumping on board this season. Happy to have them on board. KJF Design, also a sponsor, season-long sponsor of the series as well. On top of Just the Top, which once again returns as the Pole Award. Now we see tonight's sponsor, ARCS Race Experience. Friday night racing. Road course, dirt, oval, doing it all. Hope you see them come back again in the spring. Everyone getting ready to go here. Everyone except for John Smeal lined up and ready to go for this race. We're coming to green with 11 laps to go in regulation. Second caution of the night. We've already run 45 laps in the heats.
Green, green, green.
Green flag in the air and away we go. And Newton gets out to a wild jump.
The funny thing is Newton has had pretty much, unlike some other drivers around him, he's had a pretty calm opening couple of half of the stage so far, as he's really not had to deal with anything. As the advantage of finishing where he did in stage, his opening stage there, even though he didn't make the feature. He's had a very calm B main here, just trying to ride around here. But obviously, as laps tick down, he may not be as lucky as this run continues on, as he's now getting pushed by Briley right there on the low line, followed by Cody Pennell, Austin Mongold, and the 32 machine of Machino, all occupying that low side. High side getting a little bit of momentum going. You got 2 Raggy Racing machines along with Zach Millett trying to charge forward here on that high side. He'll also be joined by the 68 and the 34. Now you can see a few cars pulling high side. The 28 of Pennell. He wants to taste that lead. He'll be followed by the 32. And we got another hook in the back. It's one of the 1MA machines, the 68. He'll get in with the 42. And they will end up both going around here. David Wright, who has found success on these high banks before, just a season and a half ago at the cutoff race. And now it looks like he'll have some bad damage along with a 68. And overall, just an odd situation all around. And you can see that heavy damage on that right front. And that 42 needs an EOL, so his day is probably done as well. So we'll take a look back here as we'll zoom on back. And we'll see what exactly happened. Obviously, that's the tail end of the incident there. And you can see right there, ooh, similar situation. I'm going to guess what we saw before a previous caution. 34 at Feather Place, riding behind the 42, trying to leave him out to dance here, as the 34 will go low, heading off into the corner here. And then watch here, 68 goes up to try to side draft.
Yeah, that's not on the 34. That's on the 68. Big time, just drifting up the racetrack there. And then
That's what I was talking about there, though. Like, not intentional, but just a non-line hold, and just kind of end up hitting him there and sends him around. So obviously 34 did not do that with any intention. 68 just didn't really hold the line. Luckily, no one else piles in here. A few close shaves, but it will only be a 2-car incident for both the 68 and the 42 of Jared Merchant and David Wright. Wright already coming down the pit lane. Merchant looks like he's at least competitive enough to stay with the pack. So if he can get that machine somewhat fixed, could still have a chance to take one of those 13 spots in that 1MA racing machine. You know, at times like these, we see a handful of cars liking to come in and maybe fix up some of their damage or top off here. It reminds me of what we were talking about a bit earlier, where usually the second heat is an inverse of what the first heat was. The third one was very calm. The fourth one was, at the very least, very chaotic filled. Makes you think that at the fifth one, following that trend of thought, should at the very least be as calm as the first and the third one was, obviously until it got to the end there. So at the very least, there is hope. There's at least following that train of thought, there's a good chance we'll be in for a good show come the main in about 7 when we get the green here. 7 laps to go, actually 6 as we are waiting them to bunch up here. So with 6 laps to go, we will see the flag, and hopefully we can stay green till the finish. There's the cars on pit lane with a new fancy graphic. 42, the 68, the 8, the 11, and the 13. Some of them have already called it day done out of that contingency. As we see, obviously, a few cars still staying on pit lane to try to get their cars extra fixed up as we use some of the new features we have, including the sidebar graphic for pit lane cars and the new little drone camera here as it pivots around here the infield, showing off the cars on pit lane. Towards the front we go. Newton is, again, like I said, a very calm B main here, as he has pretty much just been leading from pillar to post at the moment, as he will take the lead again here, as we should get the one to go this time by. He'll be followed by Briley Wright, Cody Pinnell, Murchino in the 32 and 4th, Austin Mongold, Zach Millett, Chris Fleming, Lily Peltisharp, Tommy Reynolds, Brian Johnson, Elliott Long and Necker, Kyle St. John, and Brandon Featherplace will be last driver in at the moment, all at the moment trying to chen forward here. One thing note as well, as we do have a 30-minute clock on this session, and we are at 22 minutes 37, there is a chance, at the very least, we may not get this thing under green if accidents continue to happen.
It is very possible. It is extremely possible. Yeah, we do have time constraints here.
Yeah, we're about to get 7 minutes to go right about now, meaning at the pace they're going, I don't think they're even going to make it 7 laps, because it's about 50 seconds a lap. We'll get it with probably 24. That will be 6 minutes to go with 6 laps. Yeah, I don't know if we'll even make it to the finish at this rate. One more caution obviously will take us out of contention, but at the moment they may be racing back to the white rather than the checkered, depending on how, time goes here. Which could just in turn add to the chaos, where you're just giving less time for some of these drivers like Baxter, George, Howick, Withers, Dixon, Verdron, currently sitting just outside the transfer spot 15th through 20th to try to get towards the front here.
Yeah, trying to keep this race moving at a processional rate here right now. Pressure is on the field, especially those that are back in the field. If they're not top 13 and another caution comes out, that does it.
It will be over. So an indirect green and white checkered, except with 6 more laps. Basically green, and then if a yellow comes out before they get to the white, it's over. An old school NASCAR finish, if you will.
It's imperative that everyone thinks about their moves here.
Green flag.
Green flag flies once again. And away we go. And once again, Newton with the rocket launch. See the car in pit lane still. That is John Smeal. His race, his night effectively over. Inside lane will check up a little bit to catch up with Newton. Riley Wright, Riley Mauricio. Now on the outside lane, leading the way. Mauricio gets to the bottom.
There's a risk and reward here as well. Obviously, 13 cars make it through. If you're comfortably there, like Newton, Wright, Pinell, Mauricio, where you're at that point, obviously you still want to win, because obviously the further higher you finish, the more close to the front you will be when we get to the main race. But there's not as much of aggression right now if you're riding 4th in line to maybe elect to pull out here, as the likelihood of your lane falling that far back is not as high the further higher you're up. So as we got 5 to go here, a couple cars making big moves high-low there. Looked at the 72 was trying it along with one of those white machines a little bit further back. Right now, low line beginning to train forward. Top 7 currently sitting on that low line. Reynolds, though, wanting to try to take that high line here. He's just here for the fun of it. He wants to get a 500 win. That's his main goal here. Car goes a little bit loose there. Another car rounds the 10 is St. John. He will hit the wall hard. We will stay green, though, as the 38 will have to merge up and try to get back into the draft here. 4 laps to go here.
The fact that was only a single car spin at the end of that is insane, but Kyle St. John's race is over. As far as that all is considered, Tommy Reynolds leads the way. Bradley Wright, P2. Look at Zach Millett in 3rd. Mauricio still in 4th. Pelletier Sharp makes that move forward. Everyone trying to find a way forward. Top 13's where you need to be. Look at the 18, Pelletier Sharp, being followed by Gaiman. Those two have a lot of experience together between AB and Champ Car in the Cup Series here in A Squared. 3 laps to go as far as the timer's concerned.
Clock hit 27:07 that time by. We should be
good for all 3 laps.
Yep.
But we got to get green from here. Less than 7 miles from Pater. This is to make it into the A Square Clash main event. Pelletier Sharp, Gaiman on the bottom. Reynolds, Bradley Wright, Zach Millett up top.
Oh, they are
Cars
3 wide
in the wall.
We stay all pointing in the right direction, though, but they are fighting hard for that last transfer spot. Currently in the hands of Alfred's George, but he is in a sandwich in that Ford machine, followed by a 34 on his high side and a 28 in the middle there.
Whoa,
it is
Bradley Wright
all
gets
around. Multiple cars, Millett involved. That is going to be yellow flag. Field's officially frozen.
And Lily Pelletier Sharp's going to win the last chance over Reynolds and Gaiman. And we'll wait for the calculations to see who ends up where and makes up the 13th transfer.
At the moment, Davey Hawk is currently sitting in 13th.
Yeah,
Obviously, we'll see if any cars slow down, will get their spot back.
Yeah.
Obviously, Millett, his day is done after that instant. Big lick for him. Riley Wright, he will also not make it to the main. Edward Marshall, he's dragging tail. He will also not make it in. TS taking EOL. So still Hawk at the moment, as they will take officially 2 laps to go here. There's a good chance well, it's going to be extended anyway, so we'll see the session end. We will not take another flag here. But yeah, Sharp will take victory. Reynolds will follow second. Other than that, though, it looks like nothing has changed. It looks like it still will be Hawk getting the last spot in.
So going over the current top 13, that'll line up at the very tail end of the A Squared Clash field. It's Pelletier Sharp, Reynolds, Gaiman, Newton, Mongold, Longenecker, Knowlton, Withers, George, Baxter, McDonough, Kerr, and Hauk. Brian Johnson, first one out. In 14th, Jonathan Adams, Brian Rupert, Brandon Fetterplace, Brian Dixon, Mike LaJoy, Riley Mauricio, Matt Thorndran among those that will not finish the race here. Brian Johnson actually getting ahead here.
Ooh.
So there is going to be a shuffling. Brian Johnson might actually end up being in, and it's going to be Kerr last one in 13th here.
Hauk fell down to Davey Hauk fell down to 15th.
Yeah.
So looks like at the moment it will actually go to Kerr.
Yeah. So Brian Johnson moved up to the 12th. Jonathan Adams moved up to 14th. So Adams is still out. We'll see where some of these cars do stack up here. Riley Mauricio was someone that was moving around a little bit, but it seems like he is stuck in the 16th spot, so he will stay out of this final draw. Matt Thorndran, another one trying to figure out where his spot's going to be in line here as they get ready to take the checkered flag here, I do believe.
Actually, we'll see here because we're past 30 minutes.
Pit road, and does anyone have damage, or can y'all catch the field here?
We may not be done here. Pinnell on Grady and are trying to get this in. Tower trying to get this in. So we may not be curtains yet here. We'll see in a second. They got.
I wonder if because we have the green white checkered in hand, I wonder if there's a chance that we do get to finish this green white checkered here. I've not seen this happen before, where we've had a time limit end.
Oh, yeah!
All right, caution just got shortened by 1. We are going green here.
We're gonna have
They're gonna race it. This is some drivers are low on fuel, hearing it through the radio comms right now.
Yeah, so they thought this race was over, and so did we.
I will not be throwing the caution, though. This will be the only.
No cautions will be thrown. This is going green to the finish. So
the white flag here anyway. I don't know, but we're gonna at least.
We're gonna see what happens. There's even some confusion in the control. Yeah, control's not sure what's gonna happen either, but they're gonna race.
I would have to believe here. My gut feeling is that this race is over, just based off of what I've seen procedurally before. But if we have 2 extra laps to run here,
extra money.
Let them eat. Peltier, Sharp, Reynolds, the safest of the bunch. They're first and second. Gaiman and Newton, top 4. Mongold, Longenecker, Knowlton, Withers, George, Baxter, your top 10. McDonough, Johnson, and Kerr. Those in the hot seat, the most of all right now. Those are the ones with the bigger targets on their backs. Green flag flies. We're going to go. Here we go. Racing. We got one more shot at this.
Yeah, they will not call caution if anyone spins, so we are basically going to the line here.
For those that are familiar with wind style racing, this is the point of no return. This is that rule in effect here in the clash. Tidy restart. Pelletier, Sharp, and Reynolds leading the lanes. Out of 2, down the back straightaway. Reynolds has more help. Pelletier, Sharp, and Gaiman are not worried at the moment, because right now they're still in safety.
This is given a second chance to drivers on the bubble right now. Hauk back in at the moment. Johnson currently out along with Adams. Keep an eye up in the front. I will keep an eye on the last transfer spot. But we are going to see the white. Some cars getting squirrely up front. Reynolds will take the white flag here as he will take it with 1 lap to go. Newton going to try to charge here, think about making a move. But there is the transfer line we're focusing on right there. Kerr got spun. Kerr out of contention. That's going to take him out. He was in. Now he is out. Cars beginning the funnel here. Right now the 21 is still the line. More cars on the wall. Newton, George, big pile up. It's going to be who gets through first. Looks like at the moment it is going to be as it files through here. Rupert Longenecker's currently in 13th, but he is backwards. So it's who's going to get through this first. This pile-up is going to get the last transfer.
This is an absolute disaster at the back of the field. David Wright right now rolling is in 13th. He's going to have a chance to move to 12th.
Merchant hood up. Merchant hood up.
Elrich George at the 13th. Lily Peltier Sharp won the last chance qualifier. It'll be Elrich George, though, that gets the final transfer spot. David Wright ahead of him. Chris Fleming made it in. Riley Mauricio. Kyle St. Jean.
Next time I guess I'll just go.
Josh Battles made it in. Brian Johnson. Mark Dila. Tommy Reynolds, Connor Knowlton, Austin Mongold, Josh Gaiman, Peltier Sharp. All of them in. And the last lap, we had 33 cars on track. Just about 20 of them were all parked at a standstill on that back straightaway on the final lap.
And just to real say fast, it was chaotic up front. We were keeping an eye on the back, where that was obviously the main transfer. Win was not as important, but Reynolds got basically hooked by Sharp, kind of similar to Keselowski, Edwards in 09. Obviously, no one hit the fence, but it was just a situation where Sharp went low, Reynolds tried to block it, and it looked like the 7 was, Sharp is a little bit of a day late, $1 short. They'll still make it through, but Reynolds not too happy with that 18 of Pelletier Sharp.
And understandably so, very dangerous there when you know that you've got a safety net there, especially with that being after the wreck all took place here. And it looks like we're not going to have a chance to review that final lap here, unfortunately. But we do have a feature to get a hold of here, so let's go ahead and get into this. It is Nicholas Martinez Jr. and Tom Sears that'll lead this field to green over Jimmy Braille and Vincenzo Iacovazzi. You'll see some of the cars. You'll see the leaderboard move forward here. Howard Shores being the very last car in. But there you see the top 4 there: Martinez, Sears, Braille, Iacovazzi, Markowski, Mendez, Lawrence, and Delgado. Your top 8. That's your first 4 rows. Patrick Oberstadt, Steve Tucker, Toby Estes, and Ryan Pinnell. That is all the way through row 6. Row 7, Stephen Oberstadt and Christian Angel. Row 8, Kevin Feenstra and Nicholas Pressey. Alfie Sharon Jr. in row 9 alongside Lily Pelletier Sharp, Josh Gaiman, and Austin Mongold in row 10. Here reports that voice chat is coming through on the stream, and I have not heard any of that voice chat on my end. So we'll see if we can change that real quick as we get ready to go rolling.
Well, while you do that, I'll run through the rest of the grid here. Row 11 is going to be Knowlton and Reynolds. Row 12 is going to be Johnson and Delela. 13, Kyle St. Jean and Chris Fleming. As now cars are just kind of getting flown around here. Delela, George, Battles, Machino, and Wright will make up the last of the 30 cars here, finishing out. So 30 cars making a race here, 50 laps, obviously an hour 30 on the clock. Obviously, we hope we don't need the hour 30. But more importantly, they will now officially have access to 1 fast repair for this main feature. So if there is an incident, they will be able to use that fast repair to get back into this race. Other than that, everyone's going to have some good luck here. It's going to be a fun ride to see who can take it. But this is where it's noteworthy, is Martinez Jr. and Tom Sears did not have to run in well over an hour plus. His qualifying started around 7:15. It is now an hour and a half since they've been on the track. Wonder if any of that maybe that rust. It's kind of hard to stay warm when you have to sit and watch all these cars run around. They've had obviously not avoid the pain, but they just have been sitting there. And the question is that going to have a bit of an effect? Have they lost a little bit of that hunger, a little bit of that flame for sitting out for well over an hour plus?
30 cars, 50 laps is what we're looking at the moment. Gonna be exciting to hear as everyone gets ready to go. This is the 7-Bar Barbecue A-Square Clash presented by ARCS Race Experience. It's main event time here in Daytona to kick off Speed Weeks. Green flag in the air and away we go.
as we put lap 1 in the books. Jeremy Braille, the man of Daytona, will lead the first lap of 50. Tom Sears going to be at a high line, trying to make a charge happen here. Other than that, it'll be Markowski pushing Braille, and it'll be the 77 of Ivachanzi pushing Tom Sears.
Cavazzi moving forward there, the 77 machine. Ahead of Mendez. You got Delgado moving forward as well, the 91 car. Right now we're looking at Nicholas Martinez Jr., the pole sitter. He's going to make his way, now stuck in the middle lane. Try to get ahead of, I believe that was the 76 of Christian Angel. Did not work out. But Martinez now stuck in the middle. What we call normally the sucker hole.
This is where it gets interesting. Some of these drivers are obviously independents, just racing for fun here. But with how ARCS is with open team spots and everything else, if a driver leaves or if a driver underperforms, obviously we know there's that rule in place that there's a 3-day waiting period unless the driver is released. But it does open the door for, if a driver has a good run these next couple weeks, they could find their chance in an open car to find a way onto a main team if a driver underperforms. So, like Martinez is a good example right now. Obviously qualified on pole. This is a good chance this week, and if he can keep that form going during qualifying, to try to show why he deserves a seat on the grid. But right now, he is going wrong way quickly as he's been sucker holed, and he is now outside firmly the top 10 as he is being flanked right now by Estes on that low side.
Yeah, down
now
18.
tucked in line. That's really going to affect with the confidence of the driver. Moving further up now, we're now on the Allied Racing Machine, the 91 of Delgado, a rookie, as he is now will jump further up a little bit in line.
This is Mendez.
Mendez in that Mobile 1 machine. And I got to give a hat tip to Reynolds. Obviously, Reynolds went for the last chance, ended up going wrong way through the grass, and is now up to 3rd. And I'm feeling shades right now of 2023 where we saw Reynolds and Braille work to perfection. Obviously, car in between is Markowski, who's not going to, want those two to link up come hell or high water. But at the very least, doing a good job, Reynolds, to cut through the field and get himself into a good position here early on this race.
I know, running on board with the 7 car, sitting in 3rd. Looking at Markowski and Braille at the front. Markowski knows what he's doing in the plate tracks. So does Braille, obviously. Reynolds knows what it's like to lose to Braille here at Daytona. He's sitting in 4th there. There's Michael Lawrence. Sitting top 5. Patrick Oberstadt on his way on the outside lane.
Speaking of B-Tron, they're coming to join the team boss, and Reynolds will join on that high side. So again, B-Tron, a team to watch at these plate tracks, and you're seeing it right now as they are putting on a show here.
3 of those team cars outside lane together. Realistically 4, because you got Reynolds, a former B-Tron driver, now racing as an independent.
Good chance again to learn lessons, find friendships. Obviously, for Reynolds, let's see, he competes for the 500 next week. Obviously, an independent, no contractual obligations. But if he elects to run, again, you want to know who you can work with. You want to know who you can trust. And obviously, he's found a good home with all these B-Tron cars on that high side. Meanwhile, we're obviously got to give the flowers that low line. Cheeseburger Lawrence, the 33 of Markowski, and then you got the 230 Air machines of Gaiman and Feemster. Team boss Feemster pushing Gaiman. Again, sorry for those in the chat, for those two teams in question. Their schemes not loading in, but they are obviously running right now, still trying to get those cars competitively towards the front. But the question is, you're going to have to find a way eventually to break up this B-Tron dominance. We know that pit stop looms between 18 and 21 laps. 2 stops await these drivers in a 50-lap race if it stays green. The question is, how can you break it up right now? You can see right now, going to try to control the lanes. A 60, going to go low of Oberstadt, going to block off that low lane. And now Oberstadt and co. of B-Tron control both those lanes right now.
Middle lane trying to be a little bit active here. That was Mendez in the middle, now being sucker-holed backwards No one wanting to work on that out on that middle lane at the moment. Markowski doing a great job as a pusher, though. Hooked up right there with the 60th Patrick Oberstadt. 3 and 4. Oberstadt takes the lead. And you see the difference that we're seeing just in the way this race is shaking out right now between the last chance qualifier we saw last time out and this clash, the main event. A lot more calculated, the moves that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, calm and collective, trying to make sure you don't, obviously with it being a long race, you do not want to have you go wrong way quickly and have to burn a fast repair that early. I do wonder, thinking about thought here, obviously saw Martinez kind of fall through the field. He is now down to 30th. I do wonder if that may be a bit of element of strategy. We do see at these plate tracks, drivers elect to ride in the back, not try to ruffle feathers, and try to survive to the end. Maybe Martinez thinking, hey, I know there's a lot of strong drivers there. Maybe best if I drop back and try to preserve my race car just in case chaos happens, like we saw in the main transfer we just saw last about 10 minutes ago, I should say, with all the chaos that has occurred there. But up front, it is still B-Tron controlling both lanes. Oberstadt, Braille holding down both lines. And the only way you're going to get around is if you make a third lane. The question is, does anyone want to rock the boat at this moment?
This early on, knowing you have pit stops to make here, no, you do not. You're pretty well sorted and situated in knowing that, okay, let's ride around, at least get to the first pit stop window here, and then see where we're at. As a driver, that is your number one idea. Is you know there's pit stops. Just don't rock the boat too hard. Figure out who you're working with here. See what your measuring stick is. If it's the B-Tron gang, you're in a good spot because you're saving more fuel further back than them, so you're not going to have as long of a pit stop. So the pressure's not on you so much if you're trying to measure based off of that team. The rule of thumb is that you kind of go based off of when the leader kind of decides that they're going to come in. With them leading, they're going to be close to that lap 18, lap 19 mark. Obviously, as we talked about earlier, the pit window's 18 to 21 laps on a tank of fuel here in the clash. Smaller fuel window. But that will allow these teams to sort of figure out if they can do this or not. It's going to be a pretty easy two-stop race if this goes green all the way. Who's going to earmark with who? Who can go longest? We've seen that work a little bit. The overcut works. If you only have a few cars that come in, that overcut shortens the amount of time you're on pit lane because you're not dealing with all that traffic. So there's a lot of different strategies that are in motion and in play here, especially in the early running here in the clash. But we're going to know pretty quickly here once we approach lap 18, lap 19, exactly how many are able to go far on this first pit window. And again, there's no illusion at this point that you can do a one-stop race here in the clash. It seems pretty straightforward that it is going to be a two-stop race, and that if you do make a pit stop later than everyone else, you're at most making your last pit stop on lap 42 instead of lap 48, 49. Like, it's not really a close debate there. So that makes it a little bit easier. You know, you're not gambling that hard.
And it's worth noting as well, obviously in real life, we see manufacturers come down together when manufacturers go down. Obviously, not in case here because manufacturers aren't always talking. As we look at the field right now, there's 19 out of the 30 cars here are Fords. The remaining 11 are a mixture of Chevys and Toyotas. Actually, to be more frank, there's only 3 Toyotas in the field: Reynolds, Estes, and Sears. Everyone else is a Chevy, so 19, 3, and then the equivalent of 7 Chevys. So if all the Fords went down, it'd be maybe a bit of a detriment to the Fords, as it'd be a bit of a too crowded pit lane for all cars to go down and safely make it down. So
that's why you break it down by team. That's because you have like your main teams there. You're going to have B-Tron and Presidential. They may work together, but they're not going to work together with like Carolina Beagle or Black Acid. They're not going to work with them. Yeah, there's 3 Toyotas, 8 Chevys, 19 Fords. So it is a blue oval party, as it traditionally is in ARCS, at least in the Ace Cup Series. Typically it is the blue oval that has the most entries. Ironically, it's Toyota and Chevrolet that have the most wins.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Toyota only came to NASCAR in 08, but it's at least worth noting on that point that, you know, team would have a higher push on that point. But speaking of pit stops, we are getting close to that window. Obviously, window, like we said, opens between 18 and 22. The question is, like we've been kind of hypothesizing, who will be the first car to elect to come in? But if we get a caution up before then, that would give certain drivers a bit of a reprieve, because we've seen time and time again in plate racing, cars speed, cars spin, cars make mistakes entering pit lane,
I do
and
want to
take
point
them
out
out of the contention.
I do want to point out right now, the V-Tron cars, they know they're going to be one of the first ones in. They already migrated to the bottom of the racetrack. So they're protecting themselves from being shuffled out and not being able to make a pit stop. They went to the bottom of the racetrack preemptively while they had the chance to do so. So those in the outside lane will now have to make that decision on their own here, led by Toby Estes and by Tom Sears. But V-Tron knows for a fact that they're coming in as soon as lap 18. They've got maybe 2, maybe 3 laps left on this tank of fuel, and then they're coming in. Everyone else will have to react to that.
Yeah, theoretically, it's just...
You want to speak about the Toyotas here. 2 of the 3 that we were talking about, they're leading that outside lane. That's the 14, the 23.
Speaking of the 14, the 7, they're probably obviously similar paint schemes. They, at the very least, would be in some communication with each other. Obviously, both independent, non-team drivers, part-time schedules, but theoretically running similar paint schemes, at the very least, will be in at least a little communication with each other to try to link up with that other Toyota of Toby Estes. But obviously, you can see right now, though, Reynolds high unlikely to jump down, but Sears may follow too if V-Tron elects to pit. But this time by, no calls on the radio yet, as we should now officially firmly enter the window. Yeah. If there are calls, I will relay, as I do have radio comms on. But like you said, Carmen, cars filing down. You can see how less cars are on that high side compared to that low line, as it is just basically a car park. And Estes going to jump right in front and take advantage here. He will take that low line and jump in front.
I'm assuming Estes is also going to have to come in here very shortly. He's been up front most of the race, Estes has. So he's not had a lot of time to save fuel here. I would not be surprised if we start hearing a lot of calls down the back straightaway here.
Nothing yet. No calls.
Interesting. Very interesting. Estes moved back up top, though.
Oh, I think I just heard a pitting again. Now pitting in. Braille in.
Yep.
So Braille is coming
3.
in. So, yep. Gaiman in. Heard another call in. Battles in. Yep. Sears just jumped in front, so he's coming in. So, yeah, it's going to be crowded. Keep an eye. We'll keep an eye on the screen here. Who's coming in? And it is a smorgasbord cars. You want to make sure you leave space. Don't want to run into each other. If anyone has any issues to report of, looking at the most part, everyone's pointing in the right direction. And that is a good amount of cars that came in here. One car going to be a bit of a straggler here at the SDM machine of the 32 of him. And you can see from 14th all the way down to 30th. So that's half the field that just came down pit lane.
Yeah. Pit lane tracker at the very right-hand side of your screen there. We're going to see all those cars as they go through pit lane and then as they leave pit lane here. So you see the list of cars as they come in. Now it's on Mendez, Estes, Sears, Pinnell, Pressey, Sharon, Tucker, Angel, Pelletier, Sharp, and David Wright.
Yeah, Sears coming in this time by. Actually, Sears said he was coming in. He's not coming in again.
There he is. There he is, the 14.
Sears isn't. Yeah, 14's in, 7's out. Actually, yeah, numbers got flipped around here. But still weird on point that he said he kind of made that move a lap and a half ago to jump in front of the V-Tron cars. It did not elect to come in and wait one more lap. So interesting call. Few cars will stay out. Pinnell, Pressey, and George. Only Pinnell and Pressey are currently linked together. George is about 3 seconds adrift. So they are going to try to go long here, which the advantage of that is they can take less fuel either this pit stop or the next pit stop to try to get some extra space. So it looks like Pressey and Pinnell working together here, coming in this time by both of them, and that will inherit the lead back. Well, if Alfred George stays out, he will take the lead. If not, it will go to James Mendez.
Well, we'll double check here because there's a lot of cars coming around in turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, we'll have to hold that thought, but right now it is Mendez. Oh, yeah, look at that pack of steam coming, but they're not going to catch Mendez at the moment. A little deorganized. They're going to get
only
up.
Stops, yeah.
Yeah. they're going to get up to the Raggy Racing Machine there, but not any further. So that's going to give a little cushion. And we know in these next-gen machines, if you can get 3-4 cars linked together, you can kind of gap a little bit. Problem is, Mendez and Estes are going to be alone, and by the time they get caught together, it's going to be too little too late, and they're going to get swallowed up by a group of about 10 to 11 cars here. And now we're seeing that spacing happening here. We see it all the time at these plate tracks. When green flag pit stops occur, you never see a whole pack come back out together again. It's usually a spit-off group here, and you see it right now as a gaggle of about 10 cars are going to catch Estes and Mendez. You can see right there the Pinel and Pressy are going to try to blend in with this group, and they are going to be about a second ahead of the next kind of gaggle of cars here. Right now, only one car out of the race is Brian Johnson in the 72. As he is still currently at pit lane for well over 40 seconds. Wonder if he ended up getting busted for a speeding penalty. He did, so he's now back on the track here. So all 30 cars still running, but this is the lead pack we're focusing on right now. Martinez caught up the point, but hearing some chaos back, as you see right there, Reynolds with some aggressive side drafting with him with a 48 of Martinez, and Martinez, obviously an independent. We talked about having not rocked the boat, and he is kind of raising some feathers here at the very least, as he is, and a few drivers aggressively side drafting here, even though
forward here, Chris Fleming making his way forward. That's a 38 car leading the inside lane at the moment, being followed by Toby Estes. And Tommy Reynolds there in the 7 on the inside lane as well. James Mendez, Nicholas Martinez Jr. among those on the outside lane. There goes Reynolds to the outside lane, gets around the 23 of Estes.
Braille just got hip checked by Martinez. He'll merge back up,
and
but
they saved it. Somehow they saved it, but that was close.
Very weird situation.
I think Martinez was trying to shoot the gap, not realizing that he was not clear. Teammen took each other, Overstead and Braille.
Oh, that's not good. Caution is now officially out.
Oh, and they're backing further forward.
Yeah, forward. Markowski was through the grass. I believe that was him and his spell
that was
machine.
Christian Angel, I believe, got a piece of it.
Just looking right now. Oh, yeah, Markowski got into Christian Angel. Good news is they both saved it for the most part, so minor damage for both, but we'll take a look at that in a second.
Let's go back to where this all started here, and this is going to be with Markowski, not with Markowski, but with Braille and Martinez. And again, I believe this is Martinez trying to shoot the gap here, but the gap's just not on. See if we can get to the good old chopper camera and focus on that of Martinez, the 48. And play it in slow motion here. This is the 48, the white car second in line on the right side lane. Reynolds goes to the top lane. Yeah, Martinez is trying to shoot the gap. Here's all clear between Mongold and Braille. Oh, no, it looks like Braille actually turns up into him.
Okay.
You look at that move there. Braille moves up half a lane, and Martinez doesn't really start moving until after he's gotten hit. So I can't say that's on Martinez there.
Yeah, apologies Martinez there. Yeah, just all two cars kind of get together there, and Braille on radio thing.
Normally you see it's the gap that gets shot there, but yeah, there's following that single file, obviously behind the Daytona Rising signs. Yeah, Braille just kind of moves up and tags the 48. Yeah, Martinez was following right behind James Mendez and hadn't moved, so that was on Braille there. And obviously that sort of puts us 3 wide here, and that's where we start seeing some of these issues. 3 wide. Everyone trying to cycle the way around. Patrick Overstat ends up turning his teammate, trying to get in front of Martinez, trying to shoot the gap like we thought what Martinez had done to Braille, and that wasn't the case. And then Christian Angel and Dale Markowski sort of involved together there in the aftermath of that.
and minor damage for those two at the very least. But obviously the big incident right there with both B-Tron racing cars end up colliding together. So now it gets a bit interesting. We saw a handful of cars elect to come in. Obviously, looking at the stint and looking at the situation, there is a noteworthy kind of piece here at the very least, because we know the stint is 18 to 22 laps. If we get another caution, they could presumably make it on no more stops. But if we stay green, there is the risk, or is the situation where you could be having risk of fuel concerns. So right now, only Flemings and Estes elected to stay out. Meanwhile, Reynolds took fuel only. First car to take 4 tires was James Mendez. So bit of a mixed bag situation, but Flemings will lead in his black acid racing machine with Toby Estes flying right on beside. So really noteworthy to see how these strategies play out, but obviously we know Fleming and Estes, they'll have to pit again for sure. Question of the day is, with the rest of the cars coming in, do they know something we don't? But Estes actually going to come in here again, top off. Steve Tucker, Delgado, Sharp, Mendez, and Pinnell all going to come in again. So only Fleming is electing to take the road less traveled here and elect to stay out, as now we are officially at halfway to go here.
Now we've crossed the halfway point for the clash. First, yeah, this is the first caution of the main event. I was trying to recalibrate my brain on what I was counting there. It is the first caution of the main event, and this does still leave us with a pit stop left in this race. No one can stretch it from here on fuel. Closest anyone got, and that was at max fuel save, was 22 laps. So
one more caution though, and it could be a reasonable number.
One more caution and it'd be easy.
Yeah, Tucker, and that's why Tucker, Sharp, Presley, Sears, basically 13th on down, just came in again to top it on off. But Fleming is expecting possibly this thing going green.
Let's go ahead and kind of go through this though, because we're not going to have the same issue we had with the last chance qualifier. We have an hour and a half to complete this race. We're obviously well ahead of schedule for that. We're going to have the standard restart overtime procedure for the clash here tonight for the main event. So we could see overtime, and that would change some things.
And remind the viewers at home here, I know it was ultimate unlimited attempts last year. I'm assuming it's still unlimited this year, correct?
So that's what I'm following up on right now. I believe it is still the same. I believe it's still unlimited overtime. I don't believe that was one of the rules. There was a lot of rules that did change.
Yeah.
That was not one of them, last I remember. And I'm getting confirmation, yes, that is still the case. So still unlimited overtime. So unless we pull a very bad set of unfortunate events, we're not going to have to worry about that.
Yeah. So lights on the pace car. Obviously, all the cars that came in again will tail in from the longest on the inside line.
Yep.
Control will be on Fleming as we get ready to go here.
Green flag, green flag.
Green flag is out, and away we will go.
Back at it once again. Reynolds is in front of Martinez, who gets in front of Fleming. Now leaves Overstep on the outside lane with very little help. His cars move down to the bottom lane here, following Reynolds. Reynolds, a race winner here in Daytona in his own right. He won the HTL Daytona 500 a season ago. Knows what it's like to win here at Daytona. Both in the 500 and the 24 hours of Daytona that we just went through a week ago.
Yes. And let's look a little bit further back, some of the other names we have here. Obviously, Martinez Jr., pole sitter for this clash, independent car, looking to make a name for himself. Chris Flemings was picked up by Black Acid, third-round draft pick, looking to show his worth at the team right now. Connor Knowlton, back in the series, picked up by SMD.
watching the trade, actually got acquired by the trade by SMD, looking to make his new team a home. And then last you got Oberstadt and Markowski on that high side. Obviously, Oberstadt drafted by B-Tron in the first round, and Markowski was the first overall pick. And look at Jerry Braille. Obviously, both of them had to use that fast repair in that incident. They are now re-energized, both Oberstadt and Braille, and they're looking to try to, bygones be bygones as they're trying to get forward here again. But there's a big old gap there on that low line. Question is, who will fill it first? If anyone will fill it, because that looks like prime real estate to jump in. Braille will do it. We'll see if Oberstadt follows suit. He will not. He'll stay on the high side here.
Yeah, the two SRD cars there of Knowlton in the 2. Now, double check here just to make sure. That was the 32 it was of Riley Mauricio. Still playing different lanes, not playing the team's game right now at the moment. John Smeal's team right now, though, 2 cars in the top 10. Knowlton, that 2 car behind Braille. Car in the middle, 3 wide. Not a good place to be, and that is Braille who goes 3 wide. And Gaiman almost got voluntold to go in the middle, too.
Yeah.
That was in front of Matt Vorndren. You got Austin Mongold in the mix, though, as well now. So more of the B-Tron cars beginning to compile together here.
Which should, at the very least, give this field a bit of concern if they end up linking together here. Because we've seen it time and time again at plate races. When B-Tron gets together, it usually leads to misery for the rest of the field here.
Looking for their back. This is Braille side by side with Michael Lawrence here. Braille in 16th. Lawrence in 15th. The 72 of Brian Johnson in 17th, ahead of Josh Battles. Lever for the back, 3 wide. That is Vincenzo Iacovazzi for Carolina Beagle Racing, the 77 in the middle. Being pushed by Steven Oberstadt, team boss. And they'll go to the top lane, followed by the 76, the Christian Angel.
See moves happening here. Cars going high, cars going low here, as we now got 19 laps to go here. Again, pit stop still looms for this field if it does stay green. Question is, obviously, there's no max save option unless you can have a second fuel tank on that car. So it really comes out a point how you're obviously not going to save. No one's going to elect the left off here, save that number. It's not hittable, even if you came in on 25. So the question is, you're going to go hard out again. How it really almost feels like, when do you want to blink if that opportunity comes? Because obviously, if you pit before a caution were to come out, you probably, well, depends on the cycle when you come in and out, you probably at least have the chance of going a lap down. If not, you could be in a spot where you could get caught if you're uncareful. But at the same point, you only have to take a little less fuel. And see up front there, car gets a big shunt there. Is the 32 trying to go to the front, going to get pushed by the 7. And we see out in the back here as well, Pinnell taking evasive action. 42, David Wright off the speed. Yeah. I was keeping an eye on the front. You were focusing on something else there, because it was also chaotic up front here as well.
Wild there at the front of the field, as well as it was to the rear. Riley Mauricio for SRD Motorsports, for a moment at the front, now only has 5th place. Knowlton there, bottom lane. Teammates there for SRD. They're still not working together at the moment. And Mauricio, for his efforts, will be put 3 wide. Markowski abandons him.
Yeah, that's the hit check moment. That's the, hey, we're going to send you back here. We're going to fight for ourselves here.
He had a chance to get with his teammate and didn't take it. And now he's down outside the top 10, almost down outside the top 15 in 13th place. We've had one caution in this main event.
Don't even want to say anything about it, because the minute you do, usually the gods look at you and say, hey, you spoke it into existence, and it's going to happen.
22 cars in this group. So 8 cars sort of just straggling here, hoping for that second caution. So what's going to happen first? The driver's hoping for something that won't come, or us jinxing something into existence? That's the paradox we got going on right now. Single file, though, from most of the front of the field, from Oberstadt all the way down to Matt Vorndren. No, sorry, not Matt Vorndren. That's Albie Sharon Jr., the 07. Different color car. I mean, so used to Matt Vorndren being in the 07, but that's not the case. Vorndren, I believe, is in the 00 now.
Yes, he is.
Vorndren, I believe, if not mistaken, he's another SRD Motorsports driver as well. He was one of the third one. He was the third SRD car in the field. He did not make this main event. And Vorndren, for those that maybe have tuned in to the ARCS race experience that we hosted on Friday nights here on ABN, he was in the 07 then. ARCS race experience, moving to the mini stocks for their third season. So that'll be a lot of fun to follow along with when they come back racing this spring. Side by side, it's B-Tron controlling both lanes. Brayout getting right back up to the outside front with assistance there from the 32 of Maurizio. Connor Knowlton in the 2. Inside lane. Still kind of wondering why he's not working with his teammate right now. Both those cars strong independently. And this has been the one race where teamwork and team chemistry has been the name of the game. It's the whole reason most of these drivers are here tonight. Most of the 49 cars we saw tonight were present. Outside lane beginning to flounder a little bit as Braille has to rely on the 07 of Sharon. 72 of Brian Johnson in the mix as well. That car just to the inside of Braille. Tom Sears behind him. And Braille shoots the gap to the bottom lane. Gets right in front of Johnson. And gets away from Maurizio, who moved to the outside lane just to be dispatched.
Yeah.
From a brief moment of time, Maurizio and Knowlton were in the same lane there for SRD. Not the case now. Maurizio right now sitting in the 9th spot and being sort of cast away by the B-Tron cars. It's Mongold and Braille to the inside of him.
Should be worth noting as well, folks up front, 22 cars still in this pack. We are watching. Obviously, all 30 cars still technically racing. No car is officially a lap down, but speaking of one car that could be a threat to go a lap down here shortly, Mark DeLayla, as he is currently sitting through 1 and 2 right now, and this pack is coming at exponential speed. So right now, though, all 30 cars still running in this race as we watch cars fan out here. But again, a pit stop looms for this field, as no car can officially make it. Obviously, that 38 will have to blink first. He last elected to come in on lap 18, and we are at almost lap 40. That is 20, give or take 21 laps, about to be 22. So that 38 should be hand out the window, if not this time, next time. But it does raise a question. Oh, look at that one car in.
No
this
call. Makes sense. This makes sense. The B-Tron car is pitting in with 10 laps to coming to 11 laps to go. They've pit where they've had no traffic. And there's guaranteed 4 cars there in that group working together. So that's a really big ordeal. That was that was planned. It just wasn't planned for everybody else. But now we know that is in play, and because they're taking fuel only, they will not go a lap down. Because there are 4 of them, you can put together a reasonable pace in a 4-car tandem.
Yeah. They're going to try to pull away here. So
now the pressure's on this group because they also know pit stops are coming. They've got until, at max, lap 47. And you do not want to pit with 4 laps to go. You need to make that call earlier. More cars coming in. That's Gaiman. That's Feemster. They're all in.
Gaiman, Feemster, Johnson in. Only 3 cars. Worth noting, B-Tron yet not to get linked up yet. There's a little bit of a gaggle. Braille and Mongol just a little bit further back than their front 2.
They were further back when they came down pit lane, so they were trying to close that gap up a little bit. And you're seeing this here. Oberstadt and Reynolds. There you go. There's Braille, and then
there's Mongold.
Yep, so they are getting there. Mongol's going to be okay.
He'll get caught up. but it could cost them a little time here to get synced back up here.
The time that they're losing right now, they'll make up on not having the traffic. They're not having to slow up an extra amount to avoid the onslaught, the melee. And here comes a little bit more, and this is going to be where you start seeing some of the struggles, because here comes the leaders. Yeah, this is what they were looking to avoid.
15 cars.
This is what they were looking to avoid, and you see the traffic. It doesn't, and there's a car spun. Alfred George.
One of the 1MA race machines. Alfred George is around. That's going to take him out of contention here. He hit the incinerator for the garage. Car's now taking the only firing back out. Pinnell, Sharp, St. John, Oberstadt, Mendez, Wright. 6 that stayed out here. Obviously, that is currently what we assume will be the lead pack when it cycles through at the moment of the Beachfront Racing Machine.
Pack, but they're going to be in it.
Yeah, they'll have a chance. Obviously, things can change, but at the moment, they're at least going to be in contention for that lead situation. As you'll see, cars file in and out through the track map.
Interestingly, Josh Gaiman pit on his own and came out ahead of this group.
Actually, he came down with 2 people, but I wonder what happened to his 2 people he was with.
Yeah,
obviously, Johnson came down.
He came in with Feemster and Johnson, and they're nowhere close.
Feemster looks like he's back in 27th.
Yeah, and they didn't have a penalty to serve. They just had a way slower pit time.
Oh, wait, Feemster took 4 tires. That's why. Feemster took 4. That cost him all that time.
So everyone's cleared their pit stops, minus those at the very top end of the scale from 1st to 6th. Pelletier, Sharp, St. Jean, Brian Pinnell, Stephen Oberstadt, James Mendez, and David Wright have all yet to make a pit stop. 3 of them in a 1 pack. That's Pinnell, Oberstadt, Mendez. 2 of them in a pack. Pelletier, Sharp, and St. Jean.
Actually, Pinnell is with John and Sharp, and then it's Oberstadt, Mendez, right? So yeah, 3 and 3, like you said. 7 to go. Looks like they're Sharp, Pinnell. It's a weird call, because if you pit with 4 to go, you're going to get basically swallowed. They're up to speed and fast speed.
They're hoping for a yellow, is what they're hoping for. Because they're kind of left without a sail. They're not working together. It's not a 6-car group, which is what you really need at this point. They're not going to have that.
4. Yeah, they only got 4 with Rupert, and it looks like they're talking about coming in this time by or next time by. But this is what will be the... Yeah.
Looking up forward here, this is the lead group. Whoa, car in the wall. Car in the wall. Further behind. Who was that to tag the wall?
38, maybe. No, even further back.
I'm trying to see who that was. It was Austin Mongold. No.
Ow.
Austin Mongold in the fence and broken toe link on that right front.
Good day for him. He had a lot of chaos to survive, and he is now officially going to be out of contention here with 6 to go.
Unless a caution comes out here in very quick order, which with how spread out things are at the moment, that is going to be hard to come by here. This group stayed out an extra lap. This is the lead group of Pelletier, Sharp, St. Jean, and Ryan Pinnell. They've got a lap car with them as well. So it's only these 3 cars here.
To go this time by. I'm keeping it. Yeah, we're keeping an eye on the leaders here. 12 is coming in this time by. Yep, they all will blink in here. So they are all in.
Yep.
Mendez. Oberstadt and Wright too. So that means the lead will go to the number 91 of Delgado.
The big deal right there. That was Josh Battles that was leading 11, that Doritos car with that lead group before they came down pit lane. He was the lap car who now has his lap back.
Well, for a short time here until
for a period of time,
he gets relapsed.
Yeah. With how far ahead he is right now on this group, he's not going to be lapped again. He's got another 15, 16 seconds up the road. So he's not in danger of going a lap down. He's safe. Delgado, though, he is now leading the eye of the hurricane. That is Tom Sears behind him. Look at Martinez. Nicholas Martinez, the 48, outside lane, leading that row in the 48. Sears peeks to the outside. No one behind him. This is where it gets for all intents and purposes, this is a 11-car group. Jeremy Brown in 11th, holding on to the draft with dear life. 4 laps to go.
Let's look at this top of 10, 11 here. You got a lot of... Interesting rookies
Very
here, as you can see
squirrely.
right there. Yeah, they're getting squirrely. Martinez, Pole Sitter, Sears, they were 1-2. Sears, obviously the veteran, to part-time status. Then you got a few rookies, Knowlton and Delgado, they're rookies. Presley, a part-time only entry here. Game in a series regular.
Mauricio.
Reynolds, part-time. Richicho, a rookie as well. Sharon, a rookie.
Chris Fleming, a rookie as well. He's in this group. He's in 10th.
A lot of drivers trying to make a
right
name.
now. Look at Pressy. Pressy trying to get a win here, and he's correct Clash, but he's got no help right now. It's Martinez out front. Pressy on the outside lane trying to side draft off of Josh Gammon. Turns Josh Gammon, and there's a caution. And we're going to have an overtime. And you see the damage on Pressy's car. Toe link completely destroyed, as well as parts of the bodywork torn off of that 94 car. And it's even worse for Josh Gammon, whose race is over.
Yeah.
Pressy's trying to side draft, and it just doesn't work out.
Those are the things you hate to see, but it's what happens when you get to come to 3 to go here, where cars just trying to be aggressive and try to fight. We'll take a look here again. Keep an eye on that blue and yellow
and you
machine.
See it's already gotten hooked there. Josh Gammon has, and see if Gammon comes up or if Pressy comes down. And this is a little bit of both. See, Pressy coming down, but Gammon's coming up trying to clear himself on the 94. Sears gets a giant piece of it too on the nose of that Toyota. Reynolds goes to the grass, take avoiding action, but he's good. And it is Josh Gammon that ends up with the worst of it. See him come to a complete stop here. And Gammon actually it's not game over for Gammon just yet. You see him rolling now. It looked like he was completely done, but that was just him using pit exit to get himself rolling again. Overall, that car actually, let's see if we can get a look at the left side, because the left side's what made heavy contact with the wall. That doesn't look terrible.
Oh, that's salvageable. That's definitely fixable.
That's very salvageable. Nick Pressy's, though, that's a lot of work.
He does have a fast spray if he hasn't used yet, but he will go to the long line to the line here to take it. So,
yeah, here he is. There's Pressy. This is live pictures now.
So we are now officially in overtime. Unlimited attempts if needed.
Yep.
But we're going to see how this all plays out right now. We'll see a few cars like to come in, some with damage to SRD machine. Oh, he's going to bait and switch, but Tom Sears has to come in for the damage. Pressy, obviously, we saw that. A few others coming in as well. 42 with David Wright. So basically, you're kind of in a spot where if you're staying out, you know what you got. You got the fuel. The only thing you got to hope for is you didn't underfuel it or just fuel it enough to get to where you need to get. Make sure you packed it extra if you needed it. There you can see it. Bit of a missed boxed opportunity there for that car in question. And yeah, that is going to set the thing. So you better hope you've got enough fuel for as many green-white checkers as you may need. But this is the, like you were saying, it's calm for the storm. Well, the storm has hit. Question is, who can outlast it? Who can survive it? We'll find out in due time.
So for those that maybe would have been close on fuel, I don't think anyone would have been, seeing as how we had this last pit stop so close away. A lot of cars coming in, we're coming in for tires.
Yeah.
Grip being the huge important factor there. If you didn't have track position already, Nicholas Martinez, the 48 car, he will lead the field still. Pair of Chevrolets at the front of the field. Only 8 of them in this field to start the clash. 2 of them at the very front of the field, the 48 and the 91. And then you have the 2 of Connor Knowlton for SRD. You have Riley Mauricio, so teammates there in row 2 is how that's going to line up there for SRD. Chris Fleming for Black Acid in the 38. Tommy Reynolds, independent in 6th. He's in row 3. Jimmy Braille in another independent. Alfie Sharon Jr. Then Vincenzo Iacovazzi and Christian Angel in row 5. Patrick Overstat, Lily Pelletier Sharp in row 6. Ryan Pinnell and Kyle St. Jean in row 7. Not many cars out of this race, sort of just browsing and perusing here. We got 28 on the lead lap. Austin Mongold bailed out the most of them all at the moment. He still has a chance. Cars a lap down include Mark Dila and Elvis George.
The good note, at the very least, with Dila and George is that if we get another caution, they can get back in this. But obviously, it's the monkey paw wish. You do not want to hope for a caution and then end up being the caution. So lights officially out on the pace car for going to be attempt number 1 at the green-white checkered. We'll see him come around next time by. There again is the top 5. Martinez Jr., Delgado, Knowlton, Fleming, and Murchino will be the 5 taking the line. And SMD, Wolf Noting Smeal Racing, SRD, thank you, got corrected on that one. Want to make sure I got it correct. SRD Motorsports is going to have a chance here to be the new team on the block and try to cash in the chips here, start their season off right. Can remind it of last year's clash at the Coliseum. It was won by Brandon Proudfoot. Proudfoot had a good year, maybe not end up going to the Final Four, but still had a very decent season and found victory lane again. So it is indicative that we've seen the past couple years of the Clash, the driver that ends up winning the Clash usually is at least on pace to make the playoffs. So it should be at least a good omen. If you can win this, you can win that, or at least win in the season. But only time will tell, especially if it's a part-time entry. They may not attempt the full races, but if you're a full-time entry, the odds look good. Can Martinez hang on to this? Can the rookies of Knowlton, Delgado, and Fleming crash the party? Or can we see some of the veterans like Reynolds, and Braille make a crash here? Only time will tell, and we will find out those answers just in over 2 corners time.
First attempt at an overtime restart here. We have gone past regulation. We are now in extra time. And it is showtime here in Daytona. All 30 cars still running.
Green, green, green.
Green flag flies. Away we go. Martinez, a great jump. Mauricio being careful not to lane change too early. Gets behind his teammate for the first time tonight. Now we got teammates working together, and the 91 of Delgado going to try to side draft on his own and wait for the cavalry to arrive. Reynolds will not be a part of that cavalry. It'll be Alfie Sharon Jr. and Christian Angel on the outside
Reynolds
lane.
with an aggressive clear there to get in front of the 38 machine of Fleming.
Whoa,
you can see right now, Smeal Race Design trying to make a move there.
That was Knowlton.
Yeah, Knowlton in the wall. We're going to see push Delgado on the high side. He's going to get some help from Sharon.
Yep. Martinez covered off the 91 of Delgado. Sharon in third. 3-car tandem. They got to make it to the white flag.
Oh,
Martinez gets turned. They
saves
sent it to the
Delgado,
wall.
not so much.
Oh, huge
white flag
crash.
is out, but we are wrecking. We are racing green. We are going to the line. It's going to be a car park. Yeah,
James Mendez, Vincenzo Iacovazzi, Jacob Delgado, and Tom Sears. But it's a 2-car fight, 2-car breakaway, and it's 2 rookies, Mendez and Iacovazzi.
Shades of the tandem racing where 2 cars have to work together.
Here we go.
Yeah, 92 playing some movery here, having some fun, trying to break the toe.
Don't wreck each other now. You're racing for a non-points finish. Don't wreck each other now. This is coming to the checker flag. 1 lap to go out of 4 for the final time. Iacovazzi in second. Mendez leads to the outside, to the inside. James Mendez is the Clash winner.
Yeah, nothing you could do there. Mendez did good to break the toe. A
lot of good blocking there. A lot of good defensive driving. Very clean between those two. Mendez, Iacovazzi, and it's Michael Lawrence in third ahead of Nicholas Martinez Jr. and Jacob Delgado. And that was an absolute disaster coming to the white flag. White flag was displayed before they all crashed, which is how all the timing of that worked, which is unfortunate there, because traditionally we've seen, obviously in real life, that in that circumstance that caution would come out until the leader has crossed the start-finish line.
Problem that hurt is obviously when they started crashing, the white flag was already in the hand.
They already passed the restart zone, which is where that cutoff is for iRacing. That's the last scoring loop, is the restart zone before you start the new lap. Obviously, we're talking about scoring loops. That's very important in this sort of designation here. So James Mendez gets to celebrate here. He is a winner. And as an independent driver, he'll have to do it all over again next week just to make the field for the ARCS Daytona 500.
Yeah, he's going to have to qualify that car very goodly to try to get into the field here. No, goodly's not a word, but he'll have to put the good drive on with. If we expect 46 cars like we do for qualifying next week, it is going to be a situation, and it's going to be pure hair pulling out stress for some of those drivers to make the field, and some good drivers may not even make the field. So we'll take a look here again at the caution coming to the white here.
So this is the caution that never was. And obviously you see cars already bundled up here. We'll talk to our podium finishers here in just a moment. This is Martinez. He gets really loose. How this wasn't the start of the caution is beyond me, because that is absolute carnage that we were avoiding here. Reynolds obviously checking up there for Maurizio. Maurizio 3 wide there in the middle. And the turn to the outside lane that hooks Delgado is just independent of all that. That line was not disturbed at all until you get right there. And obviously we're past the restart zone. White flag is in the air. They're crossing the line.
And it's just, you got to try to thread the needle here. And I love to see an onboard of Mendez.
Yeah, there's Mendez. He's in the grass right now. He gets around Delgado there. Delgado actually had to get a black flag clear because he crossed the pit exit line.
Now put him down to 5th. And then you can see the 2 lucky ones that get through, both the 92 and the 77. At that point, it's race on to try to get back to the line here.
You see the chaos that's still emerging here. This is all the wreck that's still happening behind everyone, just as it was in that that last chance qualifier to just make the field. All the parking lot that we saw, the demolition derby on the back straightaway, it was this way into turn 1. But it was Mendez and Iacovazzi that got away unscathed and in the clear. But Mendez have been able to put all of that into his rear view driving. You said you wanted an onboard here of James Mendez, our race winner. You're going to get it. This is on board with Mendez.
Right in the middle of the Hornet's nest.
Yeah, he is in the middle, 3 wide. That is the worst place to possibly be. We're going to zoom out just a little bit here and get you that run out of 4.
And to his left is the 77 right there, so.
Yeah. There's 74 Braille, 17 a Feemster.
Split second decisions, and you'll see it here. Keeps doesn't lift, keeps the foot in the C's part, and there's the hole opened. He makes it through, 77 follow through, and that was the race on. And all he had to do was make sure the 77 did not get a run on him. And you can see right there, 77 pretty much in tow. Yeah. It's not like right back at the 2023 race where he was pretty much all alone. He had to do some defensive driving here, all legal, to try to break the tow, almost like we're at Indianapolis. Going high-low, and eventually he's able to come back around and take the checkered flag and get a well-deserved win in that number 92 Mobil 1 machine.
He did a fantastic job tonight to win this race. Kevin, I'll give you the honors. You're the one that's going to be here all season long. I'll let you interview the race winner here, James Mendez. Parking it as an independent driver. The start of his few weeks has just begun here in Daytona.
James Mendez, this is Kevin in the booth. You got a copy?
I do.
All right. Obviously, it was a very eventful race throughout the week, but we got to start off obviously where we do at the very beginning, and we got to kind of go through your mindset here, because obviously during the heat race, I think you were in heat 1, and you kind of have a good race there. So what kind of go through your mindset how this race started? Obviously, you wanted to go top 5, but take us through your heat race and what you had to do to get yourself in a good spot.
Oh, came in like 2 minutes before the race started. Qualified like 3rd, if I remember, and just kind of ran comfortably, smoothly through the first heat. No real issues with anybody. And then kind of waited for like an hour for this race to start. And we had a good run going for like the first 20 laps. But I lost tow with the pack with like, I don't know, 15 to go. And, just kind of wait for that caution, and they all wrecked it right there. I just kind of somehow went through it.
Yeah, sometimes it's all you have to do. So we saw, obviously, with that late caution, you got stacked back up, and you're basically given a second chance. And usually opportunities come for people that are in the right spot. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. So when the field got recycled there, again, mindset. I asked mindset before. What was your mindset? Obviously, you were going to go hard, get the win, but were you going to work with anyone as an independent car? Or are you basically just all alone out there trying to get towards the front?
I have a couple friends in the field. They referred me to this league, and I was nowhere near any of them, so I was kind of just stuck pushing whoever I had. But I felt really comfortable locking onto people's bumpers. I felt I was up there, being able to just comfortably do that. I started getting middle of 3. The checkups were on the bottom, so I felt we had a good momentum movement going through it. And I think, let's say they didn't wreck, I think our middle lane would have kept moving if there's no one in front of the guy I was pushing. But that's what could have been. I also thought it was going to be a caution right before we crossed the line, but it wasn't. So just the way it is.
Yeah, speaking of that final lap, we saw once you got through, you and the 77 were nose to tail there, and we saw you making defensive moves to try to get around. So take us through that last lap from your perspective and how you had to break that toe to stay ahead.
All right, so Vinny, who was second, is my friend. We both were kind of screaming that we got through it, and as soon as I kind of got through it, I was like, all right, now I have to find a way to keep this as a win. And we came off turn 2. He really wasn't on my bumper, so I knew he would never get to it because of the bubble. And I decided to kind of start breaking it, and he fell off a little bit. And then I knew the run in 3 and 4 was going to come, so I kind of drifted out of his draft. And then once he ran out of momentum, he just kind of bubble pushed me away. And when you have enough experience in these cars, you can kind of get away with it. But if he had been on my bumper, then we would have seen something else. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I got obviously one more question. Obviously, as an independent car, the 500 obviously qualifying is next week, where we find out whether or not you can make it into the show. So obviously, you do not have a locked-in spot. So do you feel confident you can get into the show next week? And in turn, if you think you can look to impress, do you think any teams may come knocking and try to find your ride?
I think through the season they will. Unfortunately, I will actually be at the real Daytona 500 when this event is going on. So I will not be competing in that event, but the rest of the weeks I will be competing in those races if I can qualify. I feel pretty good. I'm decently talented enough to qualify in, but it just felt nice to get a win before I take a break for like 2 weeks or something.
Oh, fair enough. Obviously, though, congrats. Obviously, if you can't win the 500, at least you won the Clash. But we are here at the point where it's anyone you want to thank, family, friends, sponsors, whatever. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Just thank my friends Vinny, Jared Newton, and anybody from Carolina Beagle Racing, because they're all really my friends. I wasn't drafted. I was just new to the league. And yeah, there's other people in here too I recognize, but thanks to everybody, really. Solid field. Have fun. Much welcome. So yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Great talk to you, James Mendez. And obviously, I have a hunch we maybe talk to you again before the season ends. But regardless, take care and have a good rest of your week.
Thank you.
And that was our top place finisher there. And that will pivot us on nicely to our second place finisher, who I think Carmen has gotten a hold of.
Absolutely. I'm right now beside Vincenzo Iacovazzi, someone who has obviously been newer to iRacing, started with the High Octane series where we saw a few starts there. For Iacovazzi, Vincenzo, obviously a fantastic job. We heard from your friend James Mendez. It was you two left sort of just on an island there at the Absolute. And walk us through your clash, and obviously a great way to start off the Speed Weeks here in Daytona, kicking off your effort with Carolina Beagle with a fantastic result here for the team.
My goodness, yeah. I think it was, oh my God, I can't speak. I was in Heat 2. Right towards the end there, I think we had a beating and banging. We had that 3x3, and I thought the car was cooked. I was in the third line behind Millet. Somehow scathed away free. Ended up winning the heat. So, it definitely built up the confidence going into the clash itself, knowing that I didn't have to put any, extra pressure on myself to try to make it into the field. I was locked in through the duel. Or the heat, excuse me. And then from there on out, I was kind of just, majority of the race, just trying to hang in there, find a good spot to sit in, and if we had a restart on lap 30 and it went all the way to the end, like the last 20 laps, I was just gonna put the pedal down there. So got a lot of green flag stops, and kind of just cycled myself into a nice little spot on the last restart there. And at that point, I made my bet on the bottom, and I put my hands together, got the mozzarella, got the provolone, and the gabagool together, and prayed we made it through the wreck.
And you made it through beautifully. Followed Mendez through and ended up scot-free here. Obviously, that car looked fantastic, and that 77 car just looked strong all race long, whether it was in the heats or obviously in the main event here tonight. For those that maybe aren't familiar with you, this looked pretty much in your element here. Walk us through sort of what it was like getting up to speed with the Carolina Beagle team. That team, not a slouch when it comes to these plate races anyway. You're able to work with Oberstadt a little bit there, and obviously it paid off dividends here. But obviously, walking into this, what were you able to take away working with the team for the first time here to kick off the 2025 season?
Yeah, I had some pretty good expectations. I know Mr. Oberstadt, Steven himself, he's a pretty good guy. I know when he drafted me, he actually asked me who I wanted to be on the team, and I said, there's a couple of guys that I used to race with on Xbox. They're pretty chill, they're good racers. So he gave me the freedom to recommend to draft Gavin, and obviously I had the freedom to recommend Jared to multiple teams during the draft night, which was awesome to see. That team owners were so open to other drivers' opinions on other drivers. So I know for the most part, working with Gavin Hudspeth, who wasn't here tonight, and Jared, who didn't make it through to the main, I know them very well. So it's easy to be able to work with them. But, I had pretty good expectations. Cheeseburger himself, he's very cool guy, chill guy. And he's completely easy to work with. He's friendly from the start and friendly to the finish. And I'm glad he got third. But, when it comes to the plate races, when I first actually got iRacing, I was racing rod car heavily. So to be racing with the pros and stuff, it kind of helps you learn very, very early, where the good pushing spots are, the 3x3 racing, trying to keep your composure, all that stuff. So it definitely helped me pick up plate racing very, very early. So I'm kind of just trying to build on the spots that I'm not quite perfected on. I've only had this for just under a year now, so just trying to be the best that I can.
Well, you've had a rocket start here to kick off 2025. You get to qualify. You're locked in to the Daytona 500 here in a few weeks, but you get to determine where you're starting next week with the qualifying and the duels here at Daytona. A fantastic way to kick off stuff with your fantastic new team there, Carolina Beagle Racing. Before we let you go, let you celebrate the podium, catch the end of the playoff game if you're a football fan there watching the Chiefs and the Bills.
Oh, absolutely.
Before we let you go, the floor is yours. If you have anyone to shout out, say thank you to, take it away, Vincenzo.
Thank you very much. Obviously, shout out to you guys for putting this on. Putting the league on the platform. Shout out to the admins for putting the entire league on, and for allowing me to be here. Big thank you to obviously Steven Oberstadt for making his draft pick on me and giving me the opportunity to race every week. Every race that I ran in here, whether it was high octane, one race at Fast Fridays, Thursday Night Thunder, everybody's willing to work with each other, and obviously you're gonna have heated moments, but everybody's super nice to each other about it. So, to be able to have a positive yet competitive attitude, and being able to, race super hard and be super clean about it, and not have anybody screaming really at each other is something nice to see. So just happy to have the opportunity to race more in this league, and hopefully next week I had the same, or a couple weeks I had the same shot at wrecking Mendez for that win. Wish he was going to be there so I could do it. He's lucky he's my friend, but seriously though, to be able to race clean as we were tonight. I know we had a few cautions and whatnot, but you're gonna have it at these places. So for everybody to really kind of put a race together here and put a show on for everybody watching, special to see.
It's a fantastic drive, Vincenzo. Obviously, we got to see a little bit of you on Saturdays last year with High Octane. We get to see you a lot more here on Sundays. Enjoy the podium. Enjoy the rest of the football game going on right now between Kansas City and Buffalo, and we'll be seeing you next weekend to see you qualify for the Daytona 500.
Thank you plenty.
That was Vincenzo Iacovazzi, second place finisher here at Daytona, and we'll hand it back off to Kevin. He'll have our final interview of the night, and it is with none other than Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence, who finished P3 to round out the podium here in the Clash.
Michael, this is Kevin, the ABM booth. You got a copy?
Yep, I got a copy.
All right. Obviously, you've had a very eventful race, to say the least. But obviously, again, we'll start where all stories start at the beginning, and let's go through the heat again. Obviously, my memory serves is correct. You ended up making it through on your heat race. So take us through the kind of your heat and what got you through to the main feature.
Basically, just kind of rode it out there on the top. Knew stuff was going to happen, and then I ended up getting matched up with my teammate there, Vince. Bad at pronouncing stuff, so but I got teamed up with him and just kind of rode it out. And once that chaos happened, I kind of just saw that we were 5 of us by ourselves. Like, hey, let's just get in line and go. And then we were way ahead, so we just tried a few things to see how it was to pass stuff. So it's kind of just rode it out and knew they were going to wreck.
Well, moving further on, obviously you made it to the main feature and kind of just on a race of survival. You were kind of just hanging on, getting through the race, and then we saw that late caution re-bunch up the field and got you back in the spot. So when that late caution came out after those last bit of pit stops, what was kind of going through your mind? You knew you had a second chance at this. What were you thinking to try to get forward here?
Knew I needed to get up to the high side, but also knew if I got up there, if a wreck does happen, you really don't have very many options to get through a wreck because you're just kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I just kind of, once I realized I couldn't get up high, I just kind of rode it there and just kept my eyes forward 2 or 3 cars ahead just to watch for that wreck. Because I knew that was my only shot. I mean, being that deep into the field and everyone's packed close together. So just kind of trying to stay on my toes.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously, let's go through the main crash that happened there. Obviously, cars are battling around, and you just were able to skate through it. Obviously, you were just a little bit too far back, really, to make an attempt to go for the win, but kind of just surviving that wreck. Take us through that mine there coming to the checkered.
Few times there, I blinked through cars, so I really couldn't see where I was going. I know I bounced off at least 2 or 3 of them. Then I finally saw an opening and just decided to keep it pinned and kept it going and tried to keep that momentum because I saw several cars ahead of me that weren't really going. And then I got to give a shout out to Martinez Jr. because he caught up to me with a big run, and instead of just blowing by me, he got it behind me, pushed me. And then we caught Delgado, and I went high, he went high, I dove low, he went low, and we ended up tangling, and I ended up getting around him. So, yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
Well, pure luck sometimes can help bring you to great finishes. So, obviously, looking at the outlook, obviously, presumably, as you were the 31st pick in the draft, I know, don't want to rub it in, but just saying you kind of had to wait a long time to get your name called. You have an automatic seat at the 500. So, obviously, I'm assuming your main goal is obviously to win it, but what's your outlook now with your new team and your new organization? What are you taking to learn after your last season at GearCats? What is kind of going through your mindset for the season as a whole here?
I'm looking forward to having a good, solid crew to be with us the whole season. We all seem to get along pretty well off the get-go, and whatnot. I know I was drafted to B-Tron initially, and I appreciate those guys drafting me and taking a chance on me. And I also appreciate Steven for taking me on board graciously, and I'm landing in a good spot, and I like it. We're gonna do some good things here.
Mm-hmm. That's always a positive outlook to have, and obviously we saw you kind of getting some good speed there at the end, and hopefully you can take that and learn it to a good lesson. So obviously we got into the important portion of the interview where you can thank any families, friends, sponsors, whatever. The floor is yours. Take it away.
I'd like to first thank my wife for putting up with me on letting me do this. Steven for picking me up, the whole Carolina Beagle crew. Also would like to give a shout out to my local racetrack I race, Rebel Outlaw Karts. I race with them over the summer in go-karts, and if some of them are watching, good shout out to them. That's pretty much it. Just yeah.
Great talk to you as well. Obviously, with the performance you had, hopefully we will be talking to you again throughout the season. But regardless, take care. Have a good rest of your week, and hopefully we'll be keeping an eye on you for the 500.
All right. Yep. I'm looking forward to those plate races. I love those.
All right. You take care.
Thanks.
And that was Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence wrapping up our interviews here tonight. And that will bring our festivities to a close. So before we get on out of here, obviously I'll throw it back to Carmen, but I will share some quick thoughts here. I think it was a very good race. I think we're going to have a very chaotic qualifying next week where a lot of drivers are going to be fighting it out in the open cars to try to get into the field. At the very least, there'll be one less open car they'll have to deal with is Jared Newton. And Jared will not be in the field. James Mendez will not be in the field, and that will give one less open car to look at. But here are the final results. Speaking of the order, Mendez, Ikavazzi, and Lawrence will bring out your podium. Martinez, the pole setter, will be 4th, and Delgado will be 5th. Tom Sears, 6th. Stefan Oberstadt, 7th. Dale Markowski, 8th. Ryan Pal, 9th. And Jeremy Brout rounding out the top 10. After you get past 8th on back, just cars are able to get it turned around in the massive incident. But one thing, though, as well, look how many independent cars rock up the top 14, just to show you how chaotic it's going to be on qualifying next week. Moving third on, David Reif, 11th. Toby Estes, 12th. Nicholas Pressey, 13th. Austin Mongold, 14th. Alyssa Peltier-Sharp, 15th. Steve Tucker going to bring it in 16th. Connor Knowlton, 17th. Josh Battles going to be 18th. Brian Johnson, 19th. Joshua Gaiman, 20th. Kevin Feemster, 21st. Chris Fleming going to bring it home. Actually, yeah, goes 27th there, which is kind of odd in order.
It's all wonky because of penalties and everything from
yeah.
the there.
So moving on, we'll just list them off in that order. Obviously, I guess Feemster's 27th, Fleming 25th, Patrick Oberstadt 28th, Christian Angel 22nd, Murchicino 24th, Sharon Jr. 21st, Tommy Reynolds 23rd, Kyle St. Jean 26th. And as we round out the rest of the 30 here, it would be just Alfred's George 29th and Mark DeLayla 30th, the only two cars to finish one lap down, as they were technically a lap down when the field took the white. So they will finish 29th and 30th respectively. But overall, like I was just saying, a lot of independent cars bringing into that top 15. And overall, it is going to be a fight to get into the 40 car field next week for A Squared. But Carmen, what do we got on docket coming up on the ABN family of networks?
Not a whole lot coming up just yet. The off season for most of our events are coming to an end, though. Next Sunday really is again a continuation of the ARCS Speed Weeks here. We have the qualifying and the duels for the ARCS Daytona 500. We get that next Sunday. Everything really kind of kicks off at the beginning of February. We have the obviously we have the February 8th. You have the Platinum Endurance Championship, the 8 hours of, or not 8 hours, the 10 hours of Spa. Obviously, we're talking about next weekend, February 2nd. That's the duels and the qualifying for the ARCS Daytona 500. And then we don't really have to worry about anything until after we get through the real life Daytona 500. That's when we have the ARCS. That's when we have the ARCS Daytona 500, and that's when most of our seasons kick up the life. Our ABN Champ Car World Series kicks up in February. The VRR GT World Tour begins in February and late February as well. Platinum Endurance Championship, Platinum EGP Pilot Series all kicks up in February. And then one of the main attractions of the season, the Winstall Cup Series, will begin in March. March 2nd is what we're looking at there for the Winstall Cup Series. So the next time you see us live on YouTube, it's going to be right here in Daytona for the ARCS A Square Cup Series, the 7-bar barbecue series here on Sunday evenings. And it's going to be a wild time. We saw 49 cars show up to a non-points event. We're going to see even more cars try to show up to make the field for the Great American Race. And it's going to be exciting to be here for all of that next Sunday, 7 p.m. right here on YouTube.
Definitely say that again. But for myself, Kevin Young here, joined by Carmen Sienna. Hopefully you will join us here next week for qualifying when we will set the field for the Daytona 500 for A Square. But until then, take care and have a good rest of your evening.